Welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit qualifiers in North America. Remember, we are in Group B all day today. We're not going to be taking a look at those Group A matches. And here in Group B, we're about to take a look at Houdinis, who we already saw earlier on, take up against Hype Unit. My name is Finch. I'm joined on the desk here by Gormizer, the desk, the Consortium of Knowledge, the Bologna set, whatever it is that you'd like to call it. We're going to be here breaking down the game. Gore, you just got through watching some of these games here with us as well. Yeah. What are your thoughts here coming into this set?
I'm actually kind of surprised with the way some of these results have been going. I mean, when you look at, I think on paper, or how these teams did in their qualifying weeks, as well as what you would kind of expect out of them, Houdinis find, I think, a pretty big win in their first set, so that's big just in group stages in general, but I think it's big for them here. As well as seeing Trick Babushka go down later, they'll be playing Hype Unit, so we'll have to see how they handle that. And now we get our first look at Hype Unit since, what, the first week, because they qualified so long ago. They kind of get their chance to showcase what they have, I think, in full effect.
They are going to be a slightly different look than what you all have been used to. I think you all know by now that Griff had that competitive ruling mate, so we won't be seeing him here. Instead, it will be Visions stepping into that Hunter spot for them. I believe Visions is traditionally their coach that's stepping in to play for them here. The thing is, I really don't think that it's going to detract too much from Hype Unit. Griff was a really strong player, but they were used to playing without him in that Hunter role last year. Anyway, it was Crimson that was there for them. And really, I think a lot of the star power for this team is Layerssss in the jungle, right? I mean, that is, to me, if you want to talk about guys from console who are ready to make the jump to playing at the real level at PC or the high level at PC, I think he's one of those dudes.
Yeah, Layerssss has been able to contribute so much. Same thing I think you can say for Uzzy as well as Oboronic. Like, that trio is realistically where you're going to see Hype Unit's strength come through.
I agree.
And I think we're going to still see that, right? You have ELLEON being able to kind of come in and do a lot from the support role.
He does a lot for them.
Visions theoretically should just kind of fit right in, right? And it's one of those things that as long as everybody else is firing off on all cylinders, you could put anyone in for the Hunter role, and ideally you're still hitting the exact same marks you were earlier. Obviously, they need to have their own mechanical skills.
Yeah, Griff is a strong player.
But Visions will have that.
I think so, too. You're missing definitely some with Griff, but I don't think this team just falls off the face of the planet
definitely not.
Without him. So I'm excited to see how they play here today. They will be in that first pick spot now that we are in those picks and bans, and Xing Chen banned away along with that Hercules. And I'm glad you brought up ELLEON for them in that support role, because he kind of reminds me of like Pain from those enemy days, if you remember, where I don't know if he was the mechanical leader of the team, but he was absolutely the vocal comms leader for them. And they were missing him a little bit when we saw them play in finals. So I'm expecting them to have that sort of concise vision back, so to speak.
And that was the weird thing, because we saw them in that first week be so successful in the semifinal, and then because of the, I guess, missing that presence,
I think so,
not being able to win their finals, today's going to be different for them. Obviously, today's more important, so everyone, well, almost everyone is here. But you will say, I think having ELLEON on board with them will open up, again, places for Layerssss to kind of contribute it. It's one of those things that's like, yes, you might be like the strongest gun in the arsenal, but someone has to aim you in the right direction. That's general pain, kind of keeps things going.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say if Layerssss and Oboronic are your cannons, then Chapo's, or rather Leon, is the one lining them up. It kind of freaked me out just now. You're in my head, man. Merlin, first picked here by Hype Unit. We just got to see an example of how strong this god can be in the middle lane. So that'll be a nice, strong pick for Oboronic to play. And then for the side of the Houdinis, they're going to pick up the Unbots and the Xbalanque. And we have seen a lot of Xbalanque picked up today. Has he impressed you so far? Do you like him being valued this much?
Coming off of that last game, no, because last game he was first pick and went 0-5, unfortunately for Day. But I think in general, yes. And before last game, he had a 100% win rate. Like, he was coming in, he's doing well. And again, if I remember correctly, this is pre the Branching Bolus buff. So he doesn't even have that coming into this week. So I think a lot of people are like looking into that. And again, when you look at his kit, he's safe. He can get out if he needs to. His ult contributes to fights all across the map. And gives him range, and he hits really hard. He does everything you want out of a Hunter. I think he's just kind of a staple there. The fact that he jumped up so much, I think people are just paying more attention to him.
I agree, man. I think that he'll be getting a little bit of a buff, but as I always say, when Crit's good, he is good. And right now, Crit's pretty darn good. It's built just about everyone. Vamana in the solo lane has become a bit more of a popular pick, and I think his value has risen correctly. This god is very good at deciding one carry on the other team doesn't get to play Smite this time, right? He just kind of picks one of them and takes them out of the fight, and it's really hard to get away from him.
And it's one of those things, and like even Mifflin was talking about it earlier, where a lot of these players, specifically with Vamana, they're going back to what you used to see out of them. Maybe not getting the Frostbound Hammer, but getting the Hasten Katana.
Yeah,
so
they're
it's
trying
like,
to stick to you.
Just, I'm going to be on top of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to be big baby, so I'm going to be healing. You can't kill me outright unless you have and a copious amount of anti-heal, and maybe 3 guys attacking me at that time.
And upgrade that cursed donk.
So you're just gonna have to, you're gonna have to do everything. I actually really like the Sobek just because it plays into that anti-heal, into that role.
Well, Sobek should be a strong pick for them. Scylla rounds out that last strat for the Houdinis. Game number 1 between Hype Unit and Houdinis. Let's kick it off.
Well, it's been a while since we've been able to see Hype Unit because they qualified just so darn early to the group stages. Dolson here, Mifflin calling this one alongside of me. And not only is this a battle between Hype Unit and the Houdinis, but also a battle between low pick rate, high win rate gods between Scylla, who's at about 5 and 100% win rate, and then Sobek as well at 10% and 100% win rate. Something's got to give here, Miff, and you got a little bit on each side.
I mean, if I have to pick a comp purely based on comp right now, I'm leaning towards Hype Unit. These kids are console kids, right? And that's the exact type of meta that I'm grown up in. That's where I like to be. It's very standard. You got the mid lane mage, you got the guardian and the hunter in the long lane, you got an assassin in the jungle, a warrior in the solo. That's it. That's perfect. When you're picking a god in casuals, that's what high-res tells you to do. Need a hunter here, need a mid here, that's what happens. And you take a look at the Houdinis, you got Batz, it's a highly potent pick, you got Kumbhakarna. It's the same across the board, short of that Scylla. I can't stand Scylla. I think she's a bad character.
Well, and Oboronic agrees with you as Bayroneri is already entirely poked out, 1 level behind, has to think twice about how long he wants to stay. It might be a fight over the red buff. Drop down, looking for a little bit more now is SpreeeN, though. Still is very low in this one. Got to choose how much you want to move back in and try to re-engage. Red buff still down, so it looks like SpreeeN is able to capitalize on that one. We'll have to see if they rotate over and capture it. But kind of a return to normalcy here, and at least Season 7 normalcy. A lot of Season 6 rotations from the Guardians towards the mid lane, but we're really sticking down in that long lane for the start of this set.
That was a confident play. Sobek, ELLEON losing his blink in the early, trying to get that Batz for an early kill, but unfortunately he leveled his jump at level 2. That's an interesting level order from Batz as well.
Sure.
Starting with a 3, then going into the 1. 3 is the best jungle clear. It does the most damage, however most people will go with the 2. Immediately into the 1, that's about as bog standard as it gets, but losing that blink is going to nearly eliminate the kill potential in that long lane that he's returning to.
Both long laners go for blink in this case, and both junglers opt for purification beads. Actually kind of mirrored actives on both sides, with Guardians both blink, solo laners both blink, everyone else opting for purification beads right off of the bat. What makes you maybe lean into that? Just CC heavy on the enemy comp makes you think twice about going a different relic?
I mean, with the blinks, it's more about where's the engage at, right?
Sure.
Odin's going to look for early rotations. That's what blink's really allowing him to do. He's wanting to go into mid and just cage up that Scylla and set up for kills, as is Sobek looking for those early initiations. Vamana, blink's a little bit weird on Vamana in that he doesn't get a ton off of it. He's going to look to maybe blink in and then just immediately go into his ult and just use that positioning to his advantage, but he doesn't really have any huge CC that's going to benefit off of that. And blink on Kumbhakarna, that's about as standard as it gets. You're going to blink in, you're going to mez, you can root, you get to the epic uppercut. It's all just pretty standard. The beads, on the other hand, on everybody, again, pretty standard. These guys are playing Smite's Smite.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Certainly nothing bad in there, and Layerssss has to rotate around. His duo lane was stuck under tower. We can call it a duo lane, as the Guardians have largely been with their hunters throughout the early game here. Actually, it's a good time to kind of pivot and maybe talk about this Thor a little bit. Early on, picked and banned throughout the first few weeks, and whether or not we saw enough out of him, I think, is a conversation in its own to be had. But if there's a guy who I think can make the early game potential of this Thor, once you hit that level 5, ultimate becomes so impactful on the rest of the game, I think Layerssss can do it.
Yeah, Thor is historically been very good, but right now his win rate is down in competitive and in casuals. But he is all potent nonetheless, as ELLEON getting a little bit aggressive.
Ooh, SpreeeN sends Leon running back towards the tower. Nice dodge on the crush, and Oboronic is there. Maybe even able to turn around the kill. That is the first blood over to Oboronic. Bayroneri a little bit too long there on the engagement. One final shot would have cleaned up Leon. Didn't find it. And instead, it's Oboronic who strikes first.
Leon went full Into mode there, missed the pluck, finds the tail whip, but that's about it. Gets slammed by the Scylla ultimate. Nothing went right for him.
It's just bait, right?
Yeah. Then Oboronic shows up and says, it's just bait. It wasn't just bait unless Oboronic does that for him. But luckily, he did, and it goes the way of Hype Unit. Now only about 0 gold lead, but the XP lead should be a little bit in their favor. it's not really amounting to much except for the pressure of First Blood is no longer on the map.
Sure, does that change the face of this mid lane matchup really at all? I mean, Bayroneri has had a tough time staying in lane, at least throughout some of the poke that oBoronic was able to lay out. Now that you've got First Blood there, maybe you say Shiaaaaa needs to rotate through and help him out a little bit.
Shiaaaaa can definitely rotate in and try and set up for this Scylla, and also Kumbhakarna is great at peel. However, oBoronic on this Merlin is always going to be able to bully out Bayroneri on Scylla.
Sure.
By nature of Merlin is nuts and Scylla is not.
Fair enough. This is just the kid of Merlin is enough to rotate through enough poke that Bayroneri is going to have to play back a good bit, and the wave clear as well maybe is there from oBoronic, and this is where we've seen a lot of the engagements in the mid lane is right underneath that tier 1 tower, in large part due to sort of the directions the wave has been pushing. You're kind of approaching that time, 6 minutes into this game, where both teams thinking maybe about an early Fury. It's Gold Fury to start off here, and they're going to grab the Oracles. Hype unit are going to grab the Oracles, get themselves some vision. But you're right, though. You mentioned how the gold lead isn't really one way or the other. It's effectively dead even here. 134, 170 on the XP charts, so if nothing else, the Houdinis have done a good job, despite losing that First Blood, of staying farmed and staying relevant.
They're playing the map well. A lot of the farm loss for the side of Hype unit is on Chapo. He's constantly bouncing back between mid and the long lane. He's losing a little bit of farm in the in-between, and as well as he's leeching from both, so neither one is getting really ahead, his ADC or his mid laner. As we see a little bit of aggression on a Nesfor. He finds the pluck in mid onto Scylla. Dash no longer available.
Here's our first Thor ultimate. He crashes down. Scylla's not going to get stunned up by that one. I'm a monster still available. Doesn't connect for any damage. But now Nesfor's back in on this fight. Beads used by Layers. Can he get out alive? Heeed says no. Thor back to base. Leon is going to retreat under tier 1 tower. Great rotation from Heeed to even up the kills.
Playing so aggressive on this Sobek, going for every pluck he possibly can. At some point, you need to recognize that maybe it's not the best option.
And she is now locked in here. Double mez. Leon still in range. Don't think he has the pluck just yet. oBoronic, he flickers his way forward. Heeed stunned out. Damage going down. Leon picks up the kill before being traded out. It's another 1-for-1. Leon finally falls this time. Heeed does as well. And yet again, Myth, we're dead even.
This raw aggression coming out from the Sobek. Leon always has been like this, always playing so aggressive. If you watch his streams, as most people do, he is an aggressive player, and he's going to continue to do this regardless of any XP deficit he might accrue doing so. Whether or not Houdinis can just keep level-headed and maybe just punish the Sobek, don't really get picked themselves, it should be relatively easy to figure out what's going on now. It's been 7 full minutes of just pluck, pluck, pluck.
Well, and they were able to talk about it a little bit in the picks and bans. I mean, Sobek obviously has good CC with that pluck, sets up a lot of good engagements. Why haven't we quite seen him as much as maybe some of the other Guardians? Is it a traditional, he's not necessarily bad, we've just seen better options in that role?
That is generally what it is. Sobek, not necessarily the best character there ever was. The pluck, although is good, it's a little bit predictable, and it's so high risk, right? There are other gods that have similar displacement, similar to like Hercules is going to be able to displace in a similar way, but he doesn't have to put himself in risk to do so. If Sobek misses his pluck, it's almost always in the late game going to force out his own ultimate so he can CC immune his way out of there. Right now, though, at this level, he can get away with it just a little bit more, so a missed pluck won't necessarily always be a death.
I've liked what I've seen out of Leon up to this point. He's set up couple of kills. We'll call it bait. I mean, the early First Blood that oBoronic was able to secure, I'll call that a well-executed bait from Leon. Somebody else might say something differently, but if nothing else, he helped his team get on the board first. Yeah, that's what Thor brings. You get a double tap, and now you're setting up a rotation from Uzzy to come through. Drops down the cage. She has to use the epic uppercut to self-peel just a little bit, but don't forget Thor takes to the skies with the Anvil of Dawn. Not sure he has the range to fully crash down back there. Does have the double tap. Shiaaaaa is in the passive, so Leon was able to drop him down. Are you able to find auto attacks that are needed? No, but Shiaaa's passive is burned. Now, that's a Fear No Evil used to send Leon running the opposite direction. Shiaaaaa, though, locked down, uses the passive to get out alive. Not something you often see.
I like the thought process from Layers there. He knew he couldn't move up to auto-attack the passive out of Kumbhakarna, knowing that Hunbots would just ult him, SpreeeN. However, he waited for the Kumbhakarna to wake up, get up, and he was going to try and look for the wall double tap to instantly put him back into the dirt. Unfortunately, the timing was a little bit off, but that is a really heads-up, cerebral play coming from Thor.
Yeah, it's a good mindset to have. Sometimes it's better to just let him mez, and it's going to be easier to quick him that, or res rather. It's going to be easier to kill him off that way, so Shiaaaaa escapes Deathless this time, things starting to stabilize still 10 minutes into the game. Still notes of what we saw from Houdinis earlier on in our first set, where a couple of kills in the early game translates to a bit of a slower crest over that 10-minute mark. We are about even in gold, save a 200 and some change differential. And XP, though, is maybe the important chart to look at here as Hype Unit grab themselves about a 500 XP lead, and that was about 1,000, but the tug and pull continues with neither team really carving out a big advantage.
For my money, the next fight that happens in mid is likely going to go to the way to Hype Unit just based on history.
Sure.
Uzzy is rotating to these fights so much more quickly than Vamana. They're both proxying between the towers, but Vamana stays there and waits for the next wave, whereas Uzzy is constantly rotating through the enemy jungle trying to poke out people. So if these fights continue to go this way, it will go to the favor of Hype Unit. They need to have Heeed get into these fights just a little bit quicker. The second he gets the hastened katana online that he's working on right now, the Vamana, Oboronic on the Merlin is going to have such a hard time escaping. Flicker is just not quite a good enough escape to stop him from just sitting on top of him the entirety of the team fight. CC immune Big Baby with AoE autos, you know, no one's going to really be able to peel that.
Yeah, that makes me sad if he's on top of me and I'm a Merlin who's already used my Flicker. We did see a little bit, though, in earlier sets, questionable builds maybe on the Vamana. I mean, Hasten Katana's standard here at this point, but I think it was an Icaville pickup that maybe left a little something to be desired. I mean, in an ideal world, are you building kind of that hybrid, a little bit of tank, a little bit of damage, you want to stick to people, but you don't want to immediately die when you're in the backline? Yeah,
hybrid is almost the best way to go. Breastplate of Valor, Ninja Tabi, that's a little bit interesting if you ask me. Sure. I would like to see a little bit more health in the build. CDR not quite as important on Vamana. Maybe look for like a Berserker's shield, but looks like it's working just fine for him as he's abusing them as Houdinis go ahead and go to pull the Gold Fury.
Yeah, he has plenty of damage to force out two.
Nice
Gold
jump.
Fury peeled, and SpreeeN is going to drop the ultimate to force Visions back, and that is now a Gold Fury secured by the Houdinis, so they're able to leapfrog the gold lead. It was about a 500 deficit, now it's about 500 in their favor. So well-rotated play there, and Heeed maybe not even really looking for much more than just to delay. They say, hey, I got Uzzy and Layerssss up here on me. You guys go ahead and take that Gold Fury.
Taking Gold Fury doesn't necessarily swing the game in their favor. As you said, it's only about a 500 gold deficit in their favor. However, removing that from Hype Unit and stopping them from taking it away is so important, especially as Hype has been really in the driver's seat in these fights, really picking most of the engagements, setting the pace of the game. So being able to sneak that away and not have them force the fight on it is huge.
Look for Oboronic to continue to have an impact on this game. He's found a couple of kills early on here. Build, you know, maybe call it standard for what we've started to see over the last couple of weeks.
Doom Orb into Breastplate of Valor.
That's why I say maybe call it standard, right? I mean, you get some mana, some CDR. That's good, right?
It looks like he's very cognizant of the fact that Vamana is going to be targeting him, and he wants to be able to survive just long enough. Once they hit level 12, I imagine Sobek is immediately going to go into the Heavenly Agility, or maybe even the Ankh. It depends on whether or not they want to prioritize surviving the Vamana's attack or killing him through it.
Sure.
Heavenly Agility is the safer pickup. Obviously, it's going to allow you to escape, run away. Vamana shouldn't be able to keep up with you, especially going not Talaria boots and only Hastened Katana. But if they go for the Ankh, they do have the damage out of Merlin to really shut him down out of that Colossal Fury.
I love the way that Heeed has played this. I mean, call it a one-level differential. He has not shied away from these cheeky little invades, poking away some damage, getting into the back line as Layerssss looks to do here. Drops down onto Heeed, who has the ultimate and will use it. Colossal Fury for a bit of disengage, though, this time around. Nesfor drops his ultimate to mitigate a little bit of the Hype Unit vision. Heeed getting chipped away, but he's still in that ultimate form before dropping back down. Blink through from Leon, but a good knockup prevents the dash to fully gap close here. Bayroneri can turn around a good bit of damage. I'm a monster used. Won't connect for any damage just yet, so a little bit of poke turns into not much more. Nesfor has to use his dash to get out of that one alive, and it is Cursed Ankh picked up.
Cursed Ankh from the Odin was dropped there, but unfortunately the damage wasn't quite enough just yet to shut down that Vamana. Once it's upgraded and gets that 20% additional damage taken to targets afflicted, that's when we're really going to see the swing on this Vamana, and he won't be able to be the absolute bully that we've seen in the rest of the sets today.
We didn't I mean, there was a bit of an engagement on the right-hand side there, so we didn't really fully get to dive in. If that is Breastplate of Valor from the Doob Orb on oBoronic, do you kind of like the way that build has gone?
I'm not a huge fan. I don't really like having to adjust your build like that, but I understand the necessity of getting some tankiness online, especially when you know that there's just about nothing
Heeed.
you can do about Vamana hitting you. Going straight into the penetration, delaying it just to now isn't such a huge deal, especially since, as we said earlier, Vamana elected to go that haste and katana, so he doesn't have any magic defense online. The only real magic defense on the side of Houdinis is coming out of Gauntlet of Thebes.
Sure.
So delaying the penetration one item, not an enormous deal, but losing that one slot that would have been pure damage otherwise is going to be a big deal for his damage in the late game.
Potential engagement here. oBoronic looking to get rooted, but Shiaaaaa doesn't find the final necessary shot. Heeed underneath tier 1 tower takes a couple of shots. That'll be about the end of that one. I forget what the saying is, like if you're building defense from way far behind, like it's too late at that point. So I guess oBoronic just being proactive at this point, realizing that this is the way these fights are probably going to go. So until we're way too far behind, might as well get it now.
Chat, you can't see it, but I'm grinning like a fool because he's quoting me right now.
Oh, is that what you said?
That is absolutely it.
No, wait, no!
If you are behind and you are building defense, you have no way to get back into the game. But if you are ahead and building defense, that makes it a lot harder for them to kill you and get themselves back into the game. And that's exactly the thought process that oBoronic is following right now. Unfortunately, he is ever so slightly behind as a team, but not so much individually.
Watch out, Leon. You have Nesfor collapsing in on you. SpreeeN is around the side as well if he chooses to jump in. 4 ultimates ready, except the X-Ball ult. Leon's ult is down as well. oBoronic has to flicker away, but he finds his way into the back line nonetheless. oBoronic uses the Aegis to stay alive, but he gets dropped down by that Vamana, who's now maybe able to make his way out of this fight. Epic uppercut from Shiaaaaa buys a little bit of peel. Uzzy has found his way into the back line. That's Fear No Evil. That connects onto a couple from Hype Unit. SpreeeN dashes his way right back out, but now you got an Odin cage that's locking up about half of this jungle. Crush from the back line is going to do a little bit of poke, but not enough to keep Shiaaaaa alive. SpreeeN moves back in, finds the kill. So does Uzzy, though, and Heeed cleans that one up. You got a 3-for-1 advantage in that little skirmish for the Houdinis.
Unfortunately for Hype Unit, Odin wasn't there with the Ankh just quick enough. It couldn't really stop the Vamana from bullying out oBoronic. The Breastplate of Valor, not quite enough just yet. That Heavenly Agility should come into play eventually, assuming that's what ELLEON likes to pick up. However, that Vamana could have fallen at any point. Visions missed 4 autos in a row on a 10 health Vamana that got to heal it all back up, just enough to survive the Odin onslaught once he did get there, unfortunately. That may be just a bit of discomfort on the role. We know that it is the coach coming in for Hype Unit in the ADC role.
That's true.
Normally it was Griff, but there was a competitive ruling disallowing that. Unfortunately, Visions just wasn't able to find everything that he needed to in that fight.
When you know, Mifflin, we've touched on builds a little bit here and there and talked a little bit about what we've seen out of Heeed. I am used to, and maybe this is just me with a small sample size, but I'm used to seeing Relic Daggers on the Guardians. Uzzy, though, is going to pick that up here for himself, but the Blink, the Cursed Ankh, so important in a lot of these fights, as you point out.
Yeah, Relic Dagger going to make that Cursed Ankh so much more potent throughout the course of the game, available all the time. And now that it is not just anti-heal, he's got it leveled up already, 18 minutes in the game. Anyone afflicted is going to be taking 20% more damage as well. So having that available as often as you can, as long as you can, that's exactly what Uzzy's going to need to do, especially against a god like Vamana. It's going to be so critical in order for Hype Unit to get the better hand in these team fights.
Well, Uzzy may be realizing what his path through a lot of these team fights are, as he's about a 2-level deficit compared to Heeed, who has found himself oftentimes in the center of a lot of these fights. I guess that's where you want your Vamana. Well, maybe in the back line instead of the center. But he has done that at least 3 times, effective for some kills. So Uzzy trying to make his impact the best way he can. And, you know, I know we have maybe some differing opinions on the Scylla, but I think by and large, Bayroneri, after the tough early game that he had, was able to grab a kill, grab an assist, and is still staying important in a lot of these fights.
So the difficulty around picking Scylla is that her damage output, although good, is not the best in a mage, and she is so incredibly unsafe in that her 3 takes a long time to jump her out. It's similar to Raijin, except it takes a little bit longer to get her out of harm's way, as well as her ultimate. When she does decide to use it, yes, it's going to give you the CC immunity and the speed buff, but if she elects to actually shoot it, It's going to keep her still for about 0.5 seconds,
true.
which is just long enough at this level of play to get her slammed by 2 autos from the Hunter. And as a Scylla, that's going to put you in the dirt. Scylla is an unoptimized god, but she definitely has the damage output to be relevant.
And I feel like a conversation that comes up often with her is kind of, are people holding her ultimate too long, just waiting for a team fight where you're able to confirm a kill? Because it's also got some good objectives secure on it as well.
You can use it however you want, but holding it too long is almost always wrong. You want to use it whenever you can find damage on a critical target. Getting the kill reset is honestly gravy in my mind. You're not ever really truly going for that. It's, I need to get my 1 pick now, Scylla hit him, and if it doesn't happen, she's misplayed.
Well, if you can get it, it's great. If not, it's all okay. Maybe a better objective burn with Oboronic, but secure maybe with Bayroneri. Visions, the center of this engagement with Heeed waiting in the backline. He's got 2 zoned out from the rest of this fight as Nesfor moves his way outside of the cage. Vamana finds the final shot onto Visions. Downs goes that Houdinis. Heeed is going to make his way out to the backline, or the front line rather, of this fight, with Uzzy trying to play Peel the best that he can. 1 kill on the board, and it is all thanks to that Vamana in the backline.
Once Houdinis used his jump, his life was forfeit. Vamana popped the thorns, went into the ultimate, and he wasn't even truly looking for Houdinis. He was sitting on the Merlin, as is his job. Merlin really had no options to escape outside of Vamana deciding that Houdinis was an easier target, as he was. Picked up that kill relatively easily. I mean, without any peel, they can't do anything about it. It's on Hype Unit to get that Onk onto Vamana instantly once he goes into Colossal Fury and to shut him down. If they leave him unchecked, the Mage and ADC will have a terrible time this game.
Houdinis are able to grab that Fury for themselves and maybe a fight on the back end of it as well. Heeed maybe getting stunned up here by Uzzy, but instead it's SpreeeN who gets locked down. Layerssss has plenty of damage to finish off a kill, but a good bit of peel from SpreeeN sends a couple running, so no kills on the board for Hype Unit just yet. They are at a numbers disadvantage here until Visions is able to rejoin the fight. Shiaaaaa and ELLEON are just going to go toe-to-toe, so Fury secured, no kills, and Houdinis extend their lead.
4,000 gold in their favor, and they've only taken 1 tier 1 tower on the map, so there's so much gold available. When you have a gold deficit like this, it's so hard.
We might be able to pull just a little bit back if you're Hype Unit with the kill onto Shiaaaaa. Xball drops his ultimate as well. The lockdown is there, but the peel is back. SpreeeN doesn't have the ultimate this time around. Bayroneri completes off the kill, with SpreeeN jumping in, looking for a little bit more onto ELLEON. Blink in the backline. Heeed is here. Oboronic, he's so low, and suddenly you got a Vamana sticking to you thanks to that hastened katana. Layerssss going to take to the sky. He's going to drop down and stun up one. Enough damage this time to finish off Nesfor. He's trying to sidestep and gets the teleport back to his hammer over the wall. A nice double stun as well. Uzzy, he's rejoined the fight. That ultimate is back up from Batz this time. Uzzy goes back to base, but it's another 3-for-1 in favor of the Houdinis.
That time, Hype Unit did identify that Vamana was in the backline under the tower. We got the Onk onto him, but it was a little too late as he had already picked up the priority targets and walks out with his life. That's just unfortunate positioning from Hype Unit. As I was saying, now it's a 5,000 gold deficit in favor of Houdinis. With so many towers available on the map, they can look to take towers now and only extend that gold lead further. Usually by this point, most tier 1 towers would be dropped if you have a gold deficit like this, but instead, that's all essentially gold in the bank with this kind of lead. They could look towards the Fire Giant, then move in towards the towers. They go for the towers first, but Houdinis are in the driver's seat. However, Hype Unit hasn't slowed down that gas pedal. They're not stopping taking fights anywhere. They could elect to take fights under their own towers or wait for Houdinis to take objectives and then fight them there. Instead, they're choosing to just fight on the even playing field. And they really shouldn't be, because it's not an even playing field. They're 6,000 gold down.
Still somewhat even, kind of depending on the roles that you look at. SpreeeN and Layerssss still both very close, and Layerssss saving up just a little bit of farm, so as he's able to extend, or rather shorten up that differential between himself and Heeed, who's already made his way to level 20 on that Vamana. Oboronic is epic uppercutted to the sky, and that is the freest damage that Bayroneri will ever secure. And I'm a monster used on cooldown to secure up that red buff. That's a big loss there for Hype Unit. A lot of that wave clear suddenly missing underneath this tier 1 tower, but tossed backwards is Heeed. Nesfor drops his ultimate as well. Layerssss takes to the sky as SpreeeN finds the kill onto Visions on the left side of this map. There was a dive beneath that tier 2 tower, as the other tier 2 tower in the mid lane is being dove as well. Shiaaaa's tanking up the turret. going to move his way off to the side, but Uzzy and Leon, both tanky, are going to be able to stay safe. They're going to disengage with 2 kills underneath their belt as the Houdinis backpedal.
Houdinis are systematically destroying Hype Unit across the map there. I mean, that was a split fight where he didn't even really have to do anything besides stand around. Hype Unit dropped all their cooldowns under the tower onto him, died anyway. They took another fight over in the long lane, died there as well, lost the tier 2 tower in the long lane, lost the tier 1 as well. Now, Houdini's looking at this huge gold lead coming close to 8,000, coming up into the 9. They could go into Fire Giant. I wouldn't want Hype Unit to contest it at this point. They need to start taking smarter fights, preferably under their Phoenix. Maybe with the help of a Titan, you know.
Yeah, that might be nice.
Yeah, they need something.
At that point, the game is so close to being over. If the Titan is assisting you in some of those fights, they are going to contest this Fire Giant, which has been pulled back from by the Houdinis. And suddenly Uzzy finds himself 1 jump away from safety. He has to drop his cage. Leon is just peeling off a couple members of the Houdinis in the meantime. Fear No Evil drops onto Layerssss. He's not able to get out alive. Shiaaaaa finishes off the kill, uses his ultimate to get Oboronic out of the fight just a little bit longer. And
Nice
Nesfor
mez.
uses the ultimate as well. That's a beautiful mesmerize to lock down 2. Oboronic is able to move himself away, but Heeed comes a run and just needs a few more shots. Oboronic, he's able to use the Aegis to stay alive there, but SpreeeN finishes off the kill onto Leon in the meantime. Now Shiaaa's got 3 members of Hype Unit starting to look at him. He's going to get burnt away into the passive. He will soon fall. Who grabs the kill is the ultimate question. There were a couple members cleaned up in the meantime on the other side. So as negative as this game has been for Hype Unit, they're able to grab a couple more kills and a sloppy engage.
That was smart from Uzzy to back out from the fight, completely abandoning ELLEON in the jaws of the beast, if you would.
Yeah.
But he got back to that tower, got the Ankh onto the Vamana, and made it so that Merlin didn't have to fall there. Oboronic, such a priority target to keep alive. That was a good heads-up play coming out from Uzzy, turning it into a 2-for-2 when Hype Unit really didn't have any leg in that race. That's the first sign of life we've seen so far. I'm excited to see how it goes forward. We also saw that SpreeeN's beads were burned there, but now he has the Magi Cloak available. But if they can optimize off that, maybe get a dunk from Layerssss, trading his life for SpreeeN's is completely worth it at this point.
Yeah, he's got the Hydras and the Heartseeker. That Hoonbatz hurts just a little bit, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely he does, as well as the Hydra stacking with his already existing passive, making this first auto attack after an ability going to do immense damage. With the Heartseeker as well, that ability's going to chunk hard.
May collapse, and he's going to drop that Fear No Evil. Houdinis, they end up securing the Fury that Hype Unit started. And Uzzy's going to break himself out of that cage. Layerssss drops
Nice
into the
dunk.
back line, so Nesfor being stuck on, and Leon finds that kill. Bayroneri, though, he rotates into the rest of the fight and is able to help SpreeeN lock down 1. Oboronic, no escape from this one. A double kill for the Hoonbats. And he's going to jump away back to safety. They're not even able to trade back the kill. Uzzy, he's so low. Bayroneri misses that final I'm a Monster, and looking for just a little bit more CC onto Uzzy as Heeed and Bayroneri make their way in, and Bayroneri cleans up the final shot, and Leon, he's on the run. At this point, he's maybe just buying some time for his base, but Heeed is still knocking down the door on that left-hand side.
Shouts to Leon for never leaving Uzzy there. I didn't think for a second that Uzzy had any potential to escape that fight, surrounded by 3. But Leon and Uzzy have been boys for a long time, and he wasn't about to leave him there. Stuck around. Fortunately, makes it out alive, as she is the only one that elects to chase him out. Scylla and Vamana making the right call to move on over towards the actual objective on the map, the Fire Giant. It's going to open up the map so well for them, get the additional sustain and power to open up these tier 2 towers, or even potentially go straight into the Phoenix, as the rest of their team has just spawned. That'll be 5 members getting this fire.
Well, Leon is going to check it, but I think it's going to be melted by the time he gets down in there, and it is going to pop up. But everyone from the Houdinis is just going to take the Fire Giant and head on back. It's surprising that I think it was, what, 20 minutes in, there were still like 5 towers left on the map, and now 8 minutes later, we see Hype Unit down to their final couple of tier 2 towers. And I don't know if we can understate, you know, a lot of this started with Heeed, who was 3-1-1 before anyone else on his team was really all that fed, but that is now extended on to SpreeeN on this Hoonbats, and Bayroneri has found some free kills at his feet. It's amazing how much they've been able to convert that lead in that solo lane to the rest of their team.
Absolutely. I mean, the second that he decided that, all right, I'm done not rotating, I'm going to start and just go ahead and sit on top of Oboronic for the rest of the game, that's when the game really turned around. We saw it first under the tier 1 tower in the mid lane, then it happened again at Gold Fury, then it happened again at Gold Fury, and they haven't really been able to stop it, save for that one time under the tier 2 tower in the short lane. And now that he's got all this defense online, take a peek at that build. He's an absolute tanky monster, but he deals just enough damage to make him a threat to these mages, as well as with the Thorns, they can't self-peel, because all they have to self-peel is damage.
Yeah.
It's going to be so hard to deal with this Vamana in the backline. This Ankh usage has to be smart, and it has to be used well.
And you assume the smart usage is right around Heeed when he engages on these fights.
Absolutely. I mean, once Heeed dashes and he's going to immediately go into his ult, you have to pop the Ankh. Everyone needs to turn around instantly. They need to be on him, and we need to get the autos from Vision sinking into him. If that happens, Heeed is the crux of the strategy around Houdinis' comp, and he's the crux around the siege outside of Hunbot's ult, but it looks like they're going to elect for the 4-1 split. Hunbot's in the middle lane, going to be able to 1v1 just about anybody. Layers, if anyone's going to stop him, it's going to be that guy. However, this Vamana is the player to keep your eye on in this siege.
I absolutely agree, and we've seen kind of the tale of two Vamanas, and we might get to see what he's able to do in this fight. Absolutely deleted in the mid lane is Layers, so that mid Phoenix is now open as the fight rages on the left-hand side. Uzzy is locked in, just one with his cage here, and Heeed still in the backline. He's going to get melted down this time. Oboronic is able to find that kill, but you bought your team enough time to lock down that left side Phoenix. I'm a monster, Aegis out. So Bayroneri not going to find the kill this time, but mid Phoenix, left Phoenix, both taken down thanks to some good play.
They did exactly what I said they needed to in that shutting down the Vamana was the only option they had, but unfortunately he's such a tanky target. Despite the additional 20% damage coming out from Ankh, it's just not quite enough to peel him off quickly enough. And they got both Phoenixes for free, barring one falling Heeed. 30 seconds on his spawn. 2 Phoenixes down, Fire Giant spawning in about 2 minutes. Houdinis are still sitting pretty. They can go ahead and start moving towards the Pyromancer, return to base, spend all that gold they just acquired from getting the kill, as well as the 2 towers, Phoenixes I should say. Now they can go ahead and move towards the short lane, pick up the tier 2, go towards that Phoenix. Should be a cut and dry game from here.
Well, what's your route back into this maybe? If you're hype unit, everyone is at level 20 outside of Leon, you know, you're getting to that point where most people are towards their full build. But still, the Houdinis have had this presence and this pressure the entire game, and now the objective's on their side as well. What a hype unit look for?
First off, Chapo needs to go ahead and open that tab screen, look at Vision's build, identify that he went Xe Shin Size, Rage, doesn't have a Deathbringer. What's the point of your crits if you're not critting all that hard? Not too good, so we might want to make that adjustment really quick. Chapo's, or Leon, I should say, still has one more item he can pick up, potentially a anti-heal item or even some additional peel, but their avenue back into the game at this point, and I hate saying it, is Houdinis need to make a mistake.
Sure. You have to, you're rolling the dice at the enemy team, overextend. We saw, you know, a brief moment of that beneath the right side tier 2 tower where arguably the best fight of the game for hype unit was coming out even with a 2-for-2 on both sides. Heeed, the only member who was left respawning by the time that Fire Giant was picked up, but doesn't matter as it just now falls off. Oni Fury is going to get melted down here, so you're going to have the Oni waves as well as potentially some of those beefy fire minions rolling around. At this point, though, you look towards that Fire Giant as the next objective for the Houdinis. Are you even extending to try to contest that?
Well, it's going to be so hard to contest it. You have fire minions flooding in through 2 sides of your lanes, 2 lanes, the long lane and the middle lane, as well as that Oni Fury is going to send some more incredibly powerful minions into your lanes. And what was it, a 15,000 gold deficit? The XP lead, although not huge anymore, only 1 level on the support. That's so much. It was 20,000 gold. My bad. It wasn't. I made it sound better than it was. It's actually way worse than that.
Yeah, right. You were trying to overextend by saying 15,000. It was somehow not even enough. We are at 33 minutes into this one, and gold differential, despite being massive, most players in this game have gotten about where they want to be on their items, save maybe Leon and some others selling off their boots here. But Fire Giant being hovered over, which will respawn in 10 or so seconds. They do have deep vision as well, and this is always kind of that debate where hype unit probably realized that. They don't want to overextend into that right side jungle because then you just get collapsed on in the event of a bait. So the left side and a mid side Phoenix down, and Fire Giant going the way of the Houdinis here. Do you then maybe just try to knock down that third Phoenix and go for the Titan?
Absolutely. I would definitely go for this tower. It's the only way to really push anything in. You could try and just go straight towards the Titan, but having an objective that both teams have to contest, being that Phoenix, is allowing them to rally around one and find a team fight rather than going all the way into the enemy base.
Yeah.
Layerssss looking to get active in this fight early.
Yeah, he might be able to dunk down onto oBoronic, but the lights are suddenly turned out, and he has to back up from this one. Uzzy did drop the cage up in front of that Phoenix. Epic uppercut from Shiaaaaa. Blocks Uzzy out of this fight. Visions takes to the sky, drops back down. Has to use the Aegis to stay alive as Heeed rumbles his way right on through. Right side Phoenix taken down. Minions pouring into the base. Nobody dead just yet. Bayroneri is getting identified by Layerssss here. Titan so low, just turn your damage there. Houdinis, they finish this game and don't need any kills to do it.
No, they absolutely did not. It was so easy at that point. The Titan was getting flooding from all sides. The mid lane, the solo lane also had minions coming in. They didn't have a time to clear it out there. Long lane was the only one that wasn't flooded in. It wasn't enough. They need to find aggression earlier in the game.
Sure.
Layerssss needs to get on a god that can get involved way earlier.
Layerssss was looking for maybe something to lock down there at the end, but wasn't quite able to identify what he was looking for. I look towards this Vamana now, man. I mean, maybe under-prioritized through the recent weeks. We've seen him twice today. It's looked good in both sets that we've seen here today. I don't know, in picks and bans, maybe that's something you have to start looking at. They're able to lock it down and knock out Hype Unit in game number 1, so we'll go back to Finch to talk about it.
Thanks, Tolson and Mifflin there on the desk. After that brutal game 1, Hype Unit are looking like they could use a boost, and maybe you could as well. That's why you should pick up that Viewer Pass bundle. Not only do you get access to exclusive skins, but you also get 2 times the viewer points while you're watching, so it feels like the kind of thing that just makes sense, right? Appreciate you all for watching out there. Finch here. I'm still joined by Gore Miser here on the desk. And Gore, this was a game where very little was working for Hype Unit. Basically the entire game, man. SpreeeN and Heeed were just running over them the entirety of this game on the Vamana and that Unbots in particular.
There was a certain point where I just wrote, Heeed is too much to handle, and then almost immediately underneath it I wrote, SpreeeN is too much to handle. It was just, they just were free roaming that entire time. And I mean, SpreeeN more so, like Heeed was identified early on as a threat, and that was kind of showcased by oBoronic picking up the Breastplate of Valor, where it's just like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to get the Chronos Pendant. I'm going to get some CDR from something else, but I need protections because this guy is just on top of me. And then you start to see SpreeeN slowly but surely pick a lot up after that. And, I mean, here's them just working in tandem. It was so good.
And this fight starts with Layerssss trying to get this kill into the Scylla in the middle lane. That's what Layerssss looked for. He dunks down, can't find anything there. Here's another fight. This one starts because Chapo, Leon, on the Sobek, it was way far up on his own, gets chased all the way down, and then they eventually just target swap over to the backline, kill them relatively easily. And they just did not end up with an answer to this Vamana. I mean, they eventually do with the first donk and all the anti-heal, but it's such a commitment onto him that SpreeeN is able to free cast at the backline. He gets so far ahead. I mean, this game got absolutely out of control.
It was like the perfect passing of the torch, right? Where Vamana's like, all right, I'm going to dominate enough to get you ahead and me ahead. They're going to focus on me, though, because I'm getting all these kills. The minute they're like, all right, all the anti-heal in the world, we're going to focus Vamana. He's like, all right, SpreeeN, take it. And just hands the torch over to him. And SpreeeN picked up perfectly fine. I also think it's important to point out that Bayroneri was also getting a lot of kills in there as well. Like, he wasn't carrying at the same potential, but every impactful kill in that fight was felt from the mid lane as well. So it made a huge splash from the 3 members opposite of what I had kind of highlighted coming into this. I thought it was going to be Uzzy, Layerssss, and oBoronic, and they just weren't able to keep up.
They weren't, and what's really frustrating is I think that Griffin's absence was absolutely noticed in this game.
Yes, it was felt
Visions
heavily.
was not very much of an impact player at all on this Houyi, and I think what really happened was that SpreeeN and Heeed were able to very easily just focus out oBoronic in particular, and Visions never rose up to that secondary threat level in this game where they had to really focus on him. It was essentially a non-factor in this game. We'll see if that'll change, though, in game number 2. Let's get into those picks and bans. Hype Unit will be in the first pick spot for him, but Gore, I'm going to need to see more from Visions here this game, and they got to do something to shut down this Vamana a little bit sooner in this game.
And it's that question of like, okay, where's the problem? Like, how do I identify it, and what can we change in picks and bans?
Yeah.
My eyes actually shift towards banning Hunbats. We've seen a couple of teams already doing it in this group, so I don't think it's too outlandish if you're Hype Unit to be like, you know what? Get him out of here. And again, he's got a lot of capability to stick to you. He can jump after you, teleport after you. He can ult you and lock you down. Like, Hunbats in a 1v1 vacuum is going to win that fight if you don't have beads and he has ult.
And yeah, I mean, there was so many good Fear No Evils that game for Peel, sometimes over the wall
Man,
to,
and that
to
was
separate 2 or
so
3 people.
insane.
Yeah, I mean, it was really difficult to deal with here this game. So I love banning away this unbots and potentially things opening it up. I mean, you heard Mifflin towards the end of the game saying he wished Layers on a pick with more early impact. I don't know, man. Thor can get involved right away.
Yeah.
It's just that Layers could not find the opportunities in that game. He could not gank that Scylla multiple times. I'm a Monster was used for CC immunity. He was behind the unbots all game. I don't know if it's a pick. I just think Layers got outplayed that game.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do with it, because Layers, like you said, just kind of got outplayed. I think
so.
Thor can still work for them here. In fact, they might even be able to go for it. I think he synergizes well with a Kukulkan.
Yeah.
But it's that question of, like, do you want to pick it this early? Like, maybe you let Houdinis showcase what they're going to do for a little bit, then you can look into it, or he might just go for the set. But I have to circle back all the way around to where Oboronic more than likely is going to be going, which is this Kukulkan. There's a good reason we've seen him banned I think actually every game today, if not almost every game of just the qualifiers in general. When he makes it through, it's an impact. You feel it on every aspect of the team from pretty much beginning to end of the game. His ult is insane. His tornado is insane. The damage and the slow from Squall is great.
Yeah.
His survivability, which is weird considering he doesn't have anything to necessarily help him get out other than a little bit of movement speed.
Yeah.
But it's really good, and he stays alive a lot.
He
so
feels wiggly
he's
still,
really,
doesn't he?
really good.
He manages to get his way out of tough spots. And hey, if he has to build
Slithers.
Breastplate of Valor again, it feels way better on Kukulkan with the mana-based builds in his passive than I think it does on Merlin too. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But I love this set pickup for Layers. If you don't watch a lot of the console scene, you might not know this, but this is a pick that Layers goes to a lot when he's ready to run the game. That's what when he locks this set pick in when he wants to hard carry. So I think that's what the mentality is now from Hype Unit. Let's see if he can get Layers into a position where he can control the game.
And honestly, Set not only is good at controlling the game, but his potential is just so high up there.
He's got
in terms of
hyper-carry
what he's been able to kind of turn around in a lot of the fights. Again, triple kills a couple of weeks ago where we've seen it like, yeah, your team's losing, your team's losing, your team's oh, never mind. Set decided to just wipe the entire enemy team. Cool, you're back in this. Everybody keep going. I think alongside what is more than likely a Najah support to kind of help them going, with an Anhur, like there's a lot of carry potential here for Hype Unit.
I think
everyone.
so too, and plenty of setup potential. You already mentioned how maybe if they pick the Thor, they'd be good setup there, but Najah is tremendous setup here for this Kukulkan too. Even potentially the Anhur if he can find some stuns. It's going to be a lot on that Windfire wheels. I feel like there's not a lot else for setup there, but that combination makes sense, and that's why this Hell pickup for Houdinis might actually be great. It came in at the tail end, but we'll see if those cleanse end up being a big impactor here. Houdinis versus Hype Unit.
Thank you, Finch and Gore. Great job. The consortium of knowledge, and Mifflin's still with me to call game number 2. Houdinis, they changed things up a bit, but so to Hype Unit. They're going to say, all right, he did enough to us in game number 1 on this Vamana that we're going to pick it up for ourselves this time. He was going to move his way towards the speed buff. Looks like Layers was able to snag that one up, so that's a bit of an aside. But Uzzy now pivoting onto this Vamana, looking to replicate a little bit of what was done to them in game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to deal with Vamana, especially now that they picked Hell into it. Vamana is going to sit on Hell just as hard as he sat on Merlin, but even more so now that there's no flicker available. The only sort of escape that Hell has is the speed up from her heal, and that's not going to be enough to run away from a Boots Haste and Vamana. I imagine the Ankh is going to come out very early, as well as now they don't have Odin to counter the Vamana either, getting rid of that healing.
Ooh, that's big.
So it's gonna be rough for the Houdinis to play into this comp. And as Finch said, Layers on this set, that is the comfort pick as he moves into Shiaaaaa, making him regret ever stepping up to that speed buff again.
Yeah,
Shiaaaaa
went to speed buff, followed him through the entire jungle, and was just taking damage the entire time from Layers, and then eventually it was too late to get yourself out, and ends up dropping for first blood. I mean, a little bit. Actually, even further so in their favor, Leon was able to invade that red buff and was able to steal away the red buff, so Houdini's even further so behind in this case. Shiaaaaa is going to try to make reparations for the first blood, locks down Leon. Good body blocks from SpreeeN are going to try to prevent him from getting through. SpreeeN finds the return kill. Layers, he's going to get locked down as well. One final shot's all Bayroneri needs, and he finds it. 2 kills on the board now for the Houdinis. Oboronic, I'm not sure the cooldowns are there to get himself out, but enough minion body blocking and enough health on that Kukulkan gets him out to safety. So as the dust settles, Houdinis find a couple of kills.
Hype Unit can after that, they need to play a little bit safer. They know that Layerssss got first blood. He wants to go to clear the rest of his jungle. There was so much farm on the map. Instead, ELLEON, baiting his boy out just a little bit, forces himself to fall, and as well as Layerssss losing his life. So instead of backing with first blood on jungle, you usually get to finish your boots very easily. Instead, he has to return to base for the first time by way of a body bag and only get boots too.
Well, a couple of the supports, or both of the Guardians rather, in this game, extending on throughout those jungles early in the game, and both find a couple of deaths. Leon was at least able to snag a red buff for his troubles. So we do have 3 kills on the board here. Slight gold lead over to Hype Unit, 300 here at this point. And I gotta hand it to both Heeed and Uzzy, because they both traded each other within 1 health bar remaining on either of their sides, and the fact that neither of them got nervous and ran away is a pure bit of props to their mechanical and game knowledge, because they know exactly how much damage either of them are going to be able to do. Heeed not shying away for some trades. Either is Bayroneri, who just needs 1 more auto onto Leon, and he's going to go back behind the Harpies and blinks right back through. Watch which way you look. Bayroneri turns the wrong way. Leon blinks back through and gets out alive.
Shiaaaaa got completely lost there. He didn't cover a single option. If he could have, ELLEON could have blinked towards the other mid camp there. Shiaaaaa didn't cover that. ELLEON could have blinked towards his own tower there. Shiaaaaa didn't cover that either. If Shiaaaaa were just positioned a little bit closer to the enemy tower, ELLEON most likely falls for free. Instead, he was looking at the wave for some reason.
Sure.
So.
And what do you think? Because that's something we saw, I think, in week 1 of like EU qualifiers, was the pivot from like a traditional tanky CC Guardian into more of this squishy, high damage type role.
I mean, it's really off the fact that you can build complete tank on just about anyone and become just that, an absolute tank, especially now that mages have a little bit less damage. Penetration changes, defense items are a little bit stronger. But those kits that are so potent in these tanky Guardians are the high CC kits, are matched tit for tat by these assassins that can do just about the same thing. Najah are going to have this group slow in the ring bows, as well as the 1 target stun in the 3, and he's going to remove someone from the playfield, similarly to Epic Uppercut in the ring fire wheels. So just about all the way across the board, he's got similar levels of CC, as well as self-sustain and the potential to crit within his kit. So he's going to have high damage output in the early and transition very well to the mid game with tank items. Assassin supports are pretty good.
So you figure the play style is not too different from what you might find if you're playing a traditional tanky Guardian.
You can play a bit more aggressive in the early, in that assassins have more in their kit by way of damage. But outside of that, you're looking generally to do just about the same things.
Well, Leon has played aggressively, if nothing else, after early assist and a red buff steal. Hasn't been able to find much more after that. Houdinis did fall a little bit behind gold-wise, despite having a good bit of an engagement over here. Actually right on the right-hand side of this Tier 1 tower. And Set is not really somebody we've gotten to talk about all that much. Layerssss pivoting off of the Thor onto the Set this time around. We've seen him in different roles and might see him back in base here as the Epic Uppercut connects. SpreeeN moves through. SpreeeN finishes off the kill. 2 more low health members of Hype Unit are within range, but Uzzy, he's able to pop the ultimate and stay alive as Leon moves through, cleans up the kill onto Bayroneri. Uzzy, still in ultimate form, is going to time out, and the jump back away from Heeed keeps him alive. Uzzy looking for a little bit extra, but is not able to find it. Couple ricochets there, bought some time. SpreeeN slowed down. Uzzy, no mana, and SpreeeN jumps out alive, so we do end up at a 1-for-1.
1-for-1. Gold deficit about 500 in favor of Hype Unit. It's about the same as we saw last game. The real differentiating factor, as it always is going to be rooted in that mid lane conflict. It doesn't seem like Visions is going to play aggressive enough in this long lane to really do anything that's going to lose or win his team the game. So he's just going to go over there and just kind of place hold for Griff. They're not looking too hot without that boy Griff, unfortunately. But in the mid lane, it's the same core 3 that we've always had. Oboronic, Layerssss, and ELLEON just running it down. Whether or not they can really abuse the fact that Bayroneri chose an immobile god in Hell is going to be the differentiating factor. We get a pick on the Hell, you can go in towards the Gold Fury. But by the same foot, Hell is a high value target as Nesfor falls to Layerssss.
Oh my, he had no chance in that one. Layerssss just kind of ran him down, and Nesfor is headed back to base, so well-timed play there from Layerssss. And that was something I sort of brought up before that quick 1-for-1 engagement. Bit of a difference here between amongst what we've seen in the jungle today with Layerssss on this set. I guess I was going to ask what you expect to see from him, but maybe that last play is a perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, I've been given the answer to the test before you asked the question, but...
So you're not going to get it wrong?
Yeah, that's exactly what I expected to see. Fitch called me out a little bit on the desk, said I wanted him on a more impactful god. Thor's pretty high impact. This is what I was talking about. This set right here is getting involved so early, doing it all on his own. Oboronic, nice shot.
Yeah, talk about immobile. Bayroneri locked down, although there's not much you can do. The 3-man rotation just sitting on top of you. 1, 2, and 2 moves that hell. And anything you can do to get that Kukulkan just a little bit of a lead, and the more you can extend that, you're going to be happy about it.
Not even just getting the lead onto the Kukulkan, it's really trying to put behind the hell.
Sure.
The second she hits level 20, it doesn't matter how behind she is, she's going to be so impactful with those heals, regardless of no amount of anti-heals is ever going to counter the amount of heals that hell can put out, in that her out-of-combat healing is just as important as her in-combat healing. So if they take an engagement in the late game, back off a little bit, heal back up, they can immediately go back into the fight, and they won't be affected by those anti-heals, and that's such a potent tool to have.
Yeah. I feel like so much the last couple of times we've seen the hell picked up, anti-heal was kind of the name of the game, as it should be, because it's a lot of what she does. You know, whose job does that sort of become at this point? I mean, we saw Xbalanque as a heavy item against Heeed in the last game. As an easy as picking up a relic. More on that maybe in a moment, as Layerssss is going to try to repeat his success from before. Nesfor, I'm not sure you're getting out of this one, but Layerssss says no way. Grabs his 3rd kill of this game. But moving back to kind of that anti-heal conversation, sort of anyone's game at that point. If the item fits into your build, then go for it.
You almost always want to have anti-heal aura items out of your support because they're going to be in every fight. You want to get the anti-heal jungle items in Brawler's Beat Stick. Mid laners are going to look for Divine Ruin purely because it's just about core now with that flat gen. And then Ankh generally falls to the solo laner in my mind because they do have that additional relic slot that isn't quite as important, where support really wants to pick up those more supporty relics and Meditation, Shell, Heavenly Sprint, something like that. Solo laners are usually a little bit more selfish, so they can look to pick up that more team-oriented relic, and it would help out a lot more without really impacting general flow of battle.
There's certainly enough anti-heal options that it's not like anyone's really going that far out of their way, but Shiaaaaa is going to try to send one the opposite direction. Leon locked down, very low. SpreeeN calls him on it and is able to find the first kill of this engagement. Houdinis are very low, though. They need to be careful here as Uzzy looks to run down a couple. Pillar tossed up, Layerssss knocks down SpreeeN. Shiaaaaa, though, into the passive as well. That's a stun onto Heeed, but the shielding keeps him alive. A double kill for Layerssss in this fight is going to give Hype Unit just a slight advantage. It is a 2-for-1. Hype Unit snags just a little bit of a lead off that fight.
5 and 2 on Layerssss, level 11. I mean, he's popping off. What did Mifflin want? More impact than Thor? This is what I wanted.
Oh, you love this, right?
I do. I love it a lot.
between me quoting you on the buying defense late does nothing and now saying Layerssss needs to pick something more impactful, you're just having a day.
This is it's been good. It's been good. It's a good day to be a chair 2 right now. 2,000 gold in favor of Hype Unit. 7 and 4 is the slash line. 10 minutes 30 into the game. Hype Unit's looking like a completely different team right now. No objectives have fallen yet, nor have they even been really truly looked at. Vision's a little bit lacking on the map as well. Not the player, I'm talking about wards.
Yep.
We need to get something around this Gold Fury. Hype Unit has an incredibly powerful team fight presence around this Gold Fury. Doug so wonderfully hovering over the fact that Odin has absolutely 0 wards placed 11 minutes in this game. Actually, my jaw dropped. That's what that stutter was,
Yeah,
Chad.
the pause was Mifflin beside himself that a vision shard that's on a 2-minute cooldown has not been used once.
Free, by the way.
11 minutes of this game. They can't let Layerssss off the hook, though, right? I mean, he only has 1 placed.
Yeah, so well, that's 100% more. Well, that's infinitesimally more than our boy Heeed.
He has an infinite amount of more vision gained than Heeed was able to. You know, I'm not sure it's made a massive impact on his side of the map. He sits at 0-2, where Uzzy is 0-3.
He has a literal ward in his inventory. He's just not using it.
You're right. I'm not going to try to bail him out.
He's got 2 wards right now.
But I'm not about to go in on Heeed for.
Heeed has been popping off all day.
Your job is to go in. I just sit here and nod, right?
Fair enough. Heeed, drop a ward, bud. You bought it. All right, there we go.
Hey!
2 of them dropped instantly.
And look at that. And now Layerssss. I cannot believe Layerssss has the lowest amount of vision placed through 11 minutes into this game. He might not have enough time to place some wards with all the fighting that's been going on around the Fury. Oboronic deletes SpreeeN, who's caught out by some good engage from the rest of Hype Unit here, as Oboronic able to finish off that one. So small advantage, maybe pushing into a Fury fight here. Heeed is kind of separate behind Hype Unit, but Layerssss is ripping through the lineup of the Houdinis. 2 down now, 3 left defending. Heeed might consider jumping in on this one, but Hype Unit, they don't like that. He locks in a few from his cage, but I don't know if the damage is there. Leon is so low
Going
here.
back in too.
Oh, and Nesfor jumps back on him. He turns around the damage vision. The Hunter's getting it done here. Xbalanque still full health. Bayroneri on retreat, but immobile on that hell as he's going to stick right on top of him, but might not have the damage to clean this one up. He's back beneath his tower, gets some healing, and suddenly Uzzy is maybe the one who's not happy with where he's at. Nesfor rotates through, grabs the kill. Oboronic on the retreat, and SpreeeN locks him down. SpreeeN finds the kill, and what was a great fight from Hype Unit suddenly is a 3-for-1 for the Houdinis.
So at the beginning of that fight, it looked like a complete shift from last game in that Hype Unit is completely in the driver's seat, but that edge that Houdinis used to really pull ahead after taking those fights in the first game was discipline. Here we see that Hype Unit is lacking it severely as Uzzy overextends completely, chasing all the way between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 tower in mid, losing his life and by extension Oboronic, and the Gold Fury off the back of it. What was a clean play turned into a swing in favor of Houdinis. Not all the way, it's still about 2,000 gold and about 4,000 experience favored to the Hype Unit, but that's definitely a dip back down.
We're still early enough in this game that experience is a major factor. A lot of the differential, of course, with Layerssss, who is 6-2-4 compared to the 4-2-1 of SpreeeN. Been able to talk about that set a little bit. Ravana, certainly not a jungle god that we have seen all that often, but if nothing else, despite a losing scoreline for his team, SpreeeN has had an impact on 5 out of the 7 kills.
I mean, I will always be a huge proponent of Ravana jungle. It was my mainstay pick when I used to play competitively for oBoronic on the console. Ravana brings so much. He has a slow in his 1 that's a very low cooldown. It's almost similar to a physical version of Hebo's Water Hands. He's got the Beads Aegis built into his second ability with the overhead kick. But Heeed in a little bit of trouble. He's not going to take any damage from Naja, but definitely.
Yeah, but Oboronic is here to return some damage. He does get chunked down a good bit and is able to jump out and stay alive. Layerssss has just sat on Nesfor this entire game, and that's no exception, as Nesfor falls on the other side of the map. It's a good cage to lock in a couple. Oboronic maybe the target of Shiaaa's engagement. He jumps over the wall to trade out 1-for-1 on the right-hand side of this map. Leon, he's already used the ultimate, but Uzzy, he's collapsed onto Bayroneri underneath the Tier 1 tower, deep back in the back line here. Leon is going to go back in. SpreeeN might have enough damage to turn it around. Heeed and have that stun coming up here in just a moment. Tier 2 tower on the left-hand side falls. Leon still getting ticked away. Stun missed. So I imagine that is a safe Leon here unless he chooses to re-engage. Heeed has a little bit of shielding. Bird Bomb not ready, but the shield will explode, only for a little bit of damage. There's a Tier 2 tower down and a 1-for-1 trade elsewhere on the map.
If I had to classify what kind of play Hype Unit is bringing right now, it looks like they're angry. Yeah. It looks like they're really upset that they dropped game 1, and it's all visceral. It's almost like in those like Viking movies where one warrior's got like skill with a blade and the other one's just like chopping you in half with an axe. Hype Unit is axe guys right now. They're running in and they're just attacking, and it is working for the most part, pulling them this nearly 5,000 gold lead. They're taking down enemies left and right. They ran down the duo lane there, took out the Tier 2 tower off the back of Layerss's gank. As you said, just absolutely decimating Nesfor this game. I won't even call it Visions lane. It's not that Visions is winning lane at all. I don't even think he's been a part of any of those fights. It's just Layerssss single-handedly playing jungle and ADC.
Right.
Visions is just there to clear the waves.
It has been Layerssss in the jungle and also in that long lane. As he has the ultimate and has to use it. Doesn't have much mana once he drops back out, but that's enough of a presence from the giant Vamana to make the Houdinis think twice about engaging. Seems like Pyromancer and Fire Giant may be the next thing on the item here for both teams between Hype Unit and the Houdinis. It's not that the Houdinis have shied away from fighting, though. They're at a 4K differential, and they have gladly taken these engagements.
They, where they're getting caught out in these fights, they're getting caught in the middle.
They don't have a choice.
They have to dig their heels in and take the fight. But eventually, if they just recognize Hell's level 13 right now, get her to 16, 17, she's going to be so much more impactful as far as items go, power spikes. She doesn't have any additional healing. We might see a rod of Asclepius, we might see the Lotus Crown.
Sure.
There's so much more that she can bring to the team that she just doesn't have just yet.
You can see the respect that the Houdinis are playing are giving rather to Layers on this set. I mean, immediately just turning around and trying to disengage. Nesfor drops down the lights, and maybe this is the fight the Houdinis are looking for. Leon caught out. Are you able to finish off the kill? No, he buys some time as he goes up in the ultimate. No damage really onto Heeed, but they time it well. Bayroneri is able to get the kill before falling to oBoronic. Some low health bars as Uzzy's find himself in the back line where you'd hope your Vamana would be anyway. Shiaaaaa might be able to root down a couple. SpreeeN has to get himself through. Blinks exchanged here as Nesfor might get locked down. Burns some of the actives of his own, both in fact. He's able to get out alive. We stay at a 1-for-1, but Pyromancer goes the way of Hype.
1-for-1 trading out the Hell for Layers right there. In terms of just pure bounty,
Sure.
that is a terrible trade. You know, Hell's going to spawn quicker. Layers
For
going to
Hype
be
Unit.
dead for way longer. It's going to be rough.
For Hype Unit, it's a terrible trade.
Yes, it is a terrible trade for Hype Unit. I didn't classify that quite well enough.
All right, no, it was clear enough, but just to be ultimately
Completely clear, yeah.
Right.
Someone in chat's telling me I'm dumb, and you made sure that stopped.
Look, I'm here for you. You know, you've gassed yourself up all day. It's been a great day for you. You've been spot on. We're not going to let something small like that turn things around. So you're absolutely correct in that, you know, you lose Layers for only the third time this game. Bounty-wise, I think is something great to bring up. Bayroneri at 2-3-6 going into that fight. You know, maybe wasn't the juiciest target to take down. Leon certainly hasn't shied away from engagements. It's really often been him stunning out somebody on the Houdinis. Follow-up, whether or not it's been there, is up for the rest of Hype Unit to answer. So was the Pyromancer. Fire Giant now maybe being shied away from. This Oni Fury is up, and those Oni waves are going to be impactful here at this point. Hype Unit going to start this one up. Houdinis maybe look to collapse on it. They are in
so
range.
fast.
Hype Unit start it. Hype Unit finish it. Enough secure from oBoronic. Makes this one free, and no fight on the back end makes it free as well.
I'm pretty sure oBoronic was too late on the ultimate there, but ultimately it didn't really amount to anything. Fortunately, Oni Fury, chat, this is how you're supposed to think about it. It gives you a free window to start moving in towards that Fire Giant, or at least starting and forcing a fight in one of the lanes, because Oni Fury waves will take towers on their own, so you want to make sure you can distract them from clearing them out on their defense. Instead, it looks like Houdinis are going to aggress into the mid tower.
Yeah, they're looking for a tier 1 tower dive here. Uzzy moves forward. Uzzy into the ultimate, but he's not going to find much as the disengage is there from the Houdini. So you plug away about half of the health of that mid lane tower. And I guess, strictly speaking, that's a net win for the Houdinis if Layers is not going to find the kill here, but Leon has re-engaged elsewhere in the map. Down comes Heeed, and Uzzy finally finds a kill a few minutes after this engagement started. So now, it is definitely a clear win for Hype Unit with the one-man advantage.
Hype Unit can easily just move in towards this Fire Giant, but instead they're going to elect to go down the mid tower. I like that thought process, but if you're going to do this, you usually want to make sure you can get a Phoenix off of it. And I don't think Phoenix is an option here. They might elect to go for this tier 2. They still have 25 seconds till Heeed spawns. They can go ahead and move straight in towards this Fire Giant now. The only thing they have to really worry about is whether or not Heeed can find a TP in, but he doesn't have that. He actually has Blink and Thorns. Should be relatively uncontested, and if Houdinis does chase this out, Hype Unit can immediately turn around and take this fight.
Yeah, you don't have Heeed for 10 seconds. Uzzy in the back line doesn't have his ultimate just yet. Fire Giant started. Visions has pulled the aggro, so he's down to about half health here. As Layers now is going to shift it over to himself. Shiaaaaa moves in, looking for the steal. Hype Unit, they're going to secure that one. Plenty of secure thanks to the Kukulkan. The chase could be on here as Layers is rooted down. Shiaaaaa instead just going to dash his way back to safety. The thought was there from the Houdinis, but the secure just enough for Hype Unit to take it.
I think that's the first time we've seen this set Hype Unit decide not to chase out a fight, and I absolutely agree with it. You got the Fire Giant, you got the tier 2 tower, clear out your camps back, spend all that gold you have in hand. As Doug has got pulled up here, Vamana sitting on 2K, as is Kukulkan. That's a lot. You're gonna finish up some items. You know, Kukulkan's only sitting on about 4 items right now. He should be able to finish up just about anything he wants, or at least get a tier 2 restored artifact, maybe moving it towards some pen. And then now they can start moving in towards these Phoenixes as well, pushing those down, forcing the fights. It's going to be so hard for Houdinis to find the defense because their mage is a relatively close range mage. She can't keep the minions out, hell that is. Kumbhakarna will be able to stop people from aggressing, but by and large, their siege defense is a little bit lacking.
Well, they're There's some anti-heal picked up not only from Layers, but Oboronic grabs the Divine Ruin as well. So we wondered who would maybe start to mitigate this hell a little bit, and a little bit of everyone was kind of your answer, and a little bit of everyone is sort of what we're seeing here from Hype Unit as well. Much more clean performance from them here in game number 2 after kind of what was a messy game number 1. I figure, you know, I sort of said do more into Breastplate of Valor is something we've started to see a little bit more, and Bayroneri is going to opt for that build as well.
I mean, the Bruiser build is a little bit more core on Hell. I'll give you that. It works a lot better
Tier
there.
2, baby, yeah!
Hell is definitely one of the few gods that can certainly benefit from additional defense and cooldown, because her abilities being on a shorter cooldown means she's got 2 rotations. You can switch stance, you got the light and dark stance damage and healing. So use one, switch to the other, use it up. Now that cooldown is going to allow her to switch back and immediately use it again. And the additional defense, keeping her survivability alive, is going to make up for that immobility just a little bit. But she's going to need a little bit more than just that to keep her alive longer. I imagine we will see something along the lines of a helmet, something from the helmet tree, preferably a Lotus, so she can help out the rest of her team, or an Asclepius for the additional movement speed, keep her alive a little bit longer. But it's beggars can't be choosers now. She might have to elect for a cheaper build with this 11,000 gold deficit going towards Hype Unit.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, 23 minutes into this game, you're just hoping that you're able to extend it thanks to some Phoenix defenses. You sort of mentioned looking at Leon's build, wondering what way he was going to go. He did end up going into that kind of tanky aura option, has the contagion for a little bit of anti-heal himself. So it really seems at this point, anyone that is going to get aggressive onto Bayroneri is going to be limiting a lot of what that Hell wants to do.
And that's exactly how it's always going to go. Picking Hell is almost saying, hey, those pen items that are pretty decent or those tank items that are already pretty good, now they actually have a real passive because they're ruining my healing. It's rough. Hell is a good character. Do not get me wrong. Paul from the SPL will always be a big proponent of Hell as well. Shows that she can be played at the top level. It's just that in order to really see success with Hell, you have to play nearly perfectly. And no one plays perfect 100% of the time.
Well, that is tough to do against Hype Unit nonetheless. And they've shown that here in game number 2. And the gold lead has extended to about 14,000. Whoa, I was way off there. 12,000 as Primal Fury is going to get picked up. There you
were
go.
Predicting it.
Yeah, right,
Right.
Exactly. I was just waiting for the Fury to drop 20,000 on the XP charts as well. I mean, you hesitate to call anything over before it truly is, but this is going to take a lot of turtling and a lot of defense from the Houdinis to make their way back in.
Yeah, I'll say exactly what I said last game. What Houdinis needs is Hype Unit to make a mistake. This gold deficit, this XP deficit is so large. Fire Giant is available. They've got minions pushed up in every wave, barring the short lane, and that's the one you really, the Phoenix over there doesn't matter nearly as much. But it seems like they're going to head on over and start to clear that out as Fire Giant buff is going to wear off in about 1 second. Going to set up for that next spawn and then immediately move in towards the Phoenixes. It's going to allow for Kukulkan to pick up some more damage items. He's going to be able to farm up just a little bit more. Collected for the Soul Reaver. Chat, if you don't know, Soul Reaver changed. It has penetration on it now, so not only does it have a sick passive, a ton of power, but now it also has penetration. It's just a good item. 300 mana as well, going to mesh well with Kukulkan's passive. Going to get him a little bit additional power on top of that. I mean, this item's always been good, and it's only getting better.
Yeah, I feel like for the Houdinis, and it's a great topic that you bring up because so much of this game has gone through layers. It's got to be a team fighting nightmare for any of the carries on the Houdinis to decide who they need to focus here between Uzzy, who's been engaging in the backline so often, Layers, who now has a tiny bit of defense towards the end of his build but does so much damage, and Oboronic, despite being at 3, 2, and 4, he's a near full build Kukulkan who has poured out damage in these fights. Those are your top 3 damage dealers in this game. I can't imagine being on the Houdinis right now, figuring out who I want to identify in these fights.
The Houdinis have a really hard time, especially because of the Ravana. I love Ravana, don't get me wrong. It's a very potent jungler, but when your team is behind, you don't have that hyper damage in of yourself to blink past the enemy team. Normally an assassin on sieges like this will blink past the engagement from the enemy team and try to find himself in the back line. He's not got just enough damage to just kill straight up Oboronic on his own. It won't happen. As well as the fact that Nesfor won't be able to get onto these high priority targets because Vamana and ELLEON are going to be diving constantly, so he's going to have to try and peel out his Hell. He's going to be struggling to survive the entire time, unable to find her own damage.
He's engaging back beneath that Phoenix as Leon He's looking to do the same. Shiaaaaa, epic uppercut, drops down Oboronic, who's locked in by Heeed as well. You got Uzzy solo tanking the backline. That's where you want a Vamana to be, thankfully. Heeed is going to jump his way out as well. So some ultimates exchange, but look at really that ultimate status. Hype Unit got 4, where the Houdinis have used everything except for 1, so there might still be a world where Hype Unit look to engage.
The actives are still largely available on the side of the Houdinis, though. Don't count them out just yet. Needs Aegis available.
Could stay alive. Visions not able to do so. SpreeeN jumps in, gets the kill, jumps out. Now suddenly Leon might be able to turn around some damage, but it's Layerssss who gets it done. Leon's still very low, and Heeed is caught between 3. A good little bit of stun there, but a double kill for Layerssss. Maybe tilts this one ever so slightly for them. Right side Phoenix under attack. Layerssss is on the regress, but very low himself. Bayroneri, he is behind, but does enough damage, so you have to be careful. That's right side Phoenix taken down, and a 2-for-1 in favor of Hype Unit. Going to keep them on the board.
Oboronic didn't find a kill at the Spirit of the 9 wins, but he did, in fact, slam Bayroneri so hard that he had to return to base in the middle of the fight, and Hell didn't get involved at all in that siege defense, unfortunately allowing 2 of the members of the Houdinis to fall.
Sticking around, Mifflin, and those Houdinis ultimates are going to start coming up here quickly. Nesfor dashes his way backwards. She is still very low here. Mid lane Phoenix taken down. Uzzy is going to try to engage, but Vamana's ultimate times out. It is the Titan under attack, but it's just some Kukulkan damage that breaks it out of its shell. So another Phoenix dropped, and Hype Unit finally are going to move themselves back to safety.
2 Phoenixes down, 5 members alive on the side of Hype, 5 members alive on the side of Houdinis. 20-some-odd thousand gold, just about in favor of Hype Unit. I mean, it's looking, again, cut and dry. Hype Unit absolutely in the driver's seat. It's going to complete turnaround from what we saw last game. 30 minutes in, Houdinis, they're starting to finally catch up and build, and in XP, Bayroneri's starting to get relevant as well, but unfortunately electing to go, again, purely into damage. That could be a Obsidian Shard that she's building right now. It's not quite enough. She needs to be able to survive these onslaughts coming from Hype Unit, instead electing for just pure damage. She's not able to find that on the healthy targets often unless she herself is being dove, and by that point, it's already too late.
Well, at this point, everybody in this game is level 20, save Shiaaaaa, who is still 3 levels behind, so XP differential still playing a role, but literally only on 1 player left in this game. Builds starting to kind of get even as well there for the Houdinis. You're really getting to that point in the game now where Hype Unit kind of have what they're going to have, and Houdinis are just making up ground the longer this goes on.
Yep, that is how it is going to be, except for, you know, there's still potions available.
Potions, consumables,
elixirs,
things like that, absolutely.
But outside of that, you are absolutely correct. What? Farming from your fountain split 5 ways because you're having to trade every wave.
It is a trickle.
Yeah, it is not a lot of gold that they're able to get. They need to get these Phoenixes back alive so they can start separating a little bit, get them off their own Phoenix line, and start farming up individually instead of splitting it 4 or 5 ways as they have been.
Still could be a 4-1 split despite there being no Phoenix in the mid lane to really identify. Those Fire Minions still rolling through. Could be another 3 Phoenix win here for Hype Unit if need
Fire buff
be.
wore off.
Oboronic in the back is going to pour plenty of damage into Shiaaaaa. Uzzy in the back line, he's going to pour away some damage, but he's getting identified here. He might be the first to fall. SpreeeN, he finds the kill, and they weren't able to kill off Shiaaaaa. Suddenly Layerssss is on his own in the back. SpreeeN moves forward. Layerssss has to burn the actives to try to stay alive. He's fast, and he has the dash, and he gets out alive here. 3 members still left on the left-hand side for Hype Unit, but Houdinis, they find an important pick.
I hate to talk smack about the substitute in Visions, but he only found 1 spear from his ultimate onto Shiaaaaa, allowing him to get out alive.
Leon could go down as well. That's a nice double stun from him, but the root is in from Shiaaaaa. Dashes back to the mid lane, but those are the guys who are going to do the most damage to you. Leon might end up falling. There are waves on the Titan. Leon goes down. He's got a 60-second death timer. Primal Fury in the meantime is grabbed by Vision. 2 members down for Hype Unit. Maybe a small win there for the Houdinis.
Fire Giant spawning now. The Houdinis,
yeah,
it's a wide
time.
swing.
Oh.
They should go for this enhanced Fire Giant to take it away. It won't exactly allow them to knock on the door of Hype Unit's Phoenixes, but it'll absolutely stop them from going in towards theirs. Unfortunately, the Phoenixes are spawning for the side of Houdinis. Hype Unit can't be happy about that. Fire Giant burning quick as well. Houdinis might have just got their foot back in the door.
Door is open. Layerssss is not going to take that fight. Sometimes all you need is the door just to creak open a little bit, and it's done more than that here for the Houdinis. You win a couple of kills underneath your Phoenixes, And that buys you a free Fire Giant. Leon still back and respawning. That shows you 30 minutes into this game how long these death timers are going to be. And almost if nothing else, right? I mean, you take away the Fire Giant, and yeah, it kind of creaks the door open, but if nothing else, you're mitigating that from Hype Unit. They now don't have that to kind of snowball into a win.
Not only is it just Fire Giant, but it's enhanced Fire Giant, taking it away, as you said, from Hype Unit. And it's when their Phoenixes are coming back up, so if they can get those healed up just a little bit, push out these last Fire Minion waves, they could start moving in and aggressing themselves onto these towers. Take a look at their builds. They're just about done on the side of Houdinis. They're looking very good here. It's nearly an even game. Hell, level 20, got the healing online. Now that build, she doesn't need the survivability anymore, that she's not on the back foot, she can start looking to aggress a little bit, but it looks like Hype Unit, unperturbed by the fact that Houdinis do have enhanced Fire Giant. Houdinis, again, electing just to defend as they should. It's anyone's fight right now.
They're going to stack themselves right to the right here, so any unsuspecting member of the Houdinis that moves through is going to be jumped upon. You see that ward, though, right there. Nesfor
haven't quite stepped on it yet.
One. Yeah, they're out of range, but if they choose to move forward even a step, they'll at least know that that's where they're coming from. Shiaaaaa moves in. This is very patient, though, from Hype Unit. I would have given up on that 15 seconds ago, but Uzzy's still hanging around, so despite not stepping on the ward, it was there from Nesfor to just prevent it. It could have been a sudden collapse if anyone stepped just a toe out of line.
Houdini's Phoenixes are now about as healthy as you could want them. They could start looking to aggress themselves onto these towers. Tier 1s and Tier 2s will fall so incredibly quickly, especially with the Enhanced Fire Giant. They don't need the minion wave to remove the mitigations from the tower. They could just move in on their own, start blowing them up. Their builds are nearly done. The only one who really needs anything is Kumbhakarna, still has the Guardian's Blessing online. All the actives are available in the game. Every ultimate is available. It's, dare I say it, an even game right now.
It could be. I mean, map permanent objectives is the namely difference here, where you look at 3 open Phoenixes for the Houdinis, and there's still 5 towers left on the map for Hype Unit. So that is the main difference.
Leon in a little bit early.
There is a fight on the right-hand side, though. The rest of Hype Unit needs some time to move in and collapse. Oboronic sends his ultimate right on through, but Visions, he's getting melted in the backline. Shiaaaaa helps him find the kill. Leon gets the kill onto Bayroneri. Layers is very low. They need that set to do a lot of damage, but SpreeeN with the double kill shuts down Oboronic. Uzzy, he's a bit caught out here, doesn't have his ultimate anymore. Leon's still in range, but he's going to disengage here. Layers is low enough that he doesn't want anything else to do with this fight. Uzzy, he has to blink out of this one as well. Could be the route onto Leon, does end up finding it. Heeed could stack the CC with the stun. Instead, they turn onto Uzzy, who is now being regressed upon, and he has to retreat. Shiaaaaa actually is into that passive. Tower won't proc on him. Leon, though, is going to stay and maybe try to find this kill. Tier 2 tower is going to get melted down. He's going to disengage, but Hype Unit, they're here to re-engage.
Not only are you here to re-engage, but they're here healthy. Layers, full health and mana. Heeed, the only one really in danger right now. Gonna have to use his jump to escape. SpreeeN could help him if he elects to.
They lock a couple in, and they still kind of have the health bars and the numbers for the Houdinis if they want to move back in on this one.
Help your man, SpreeeN.
Has to use the shielding, jumps right back out, but Layers, he finds the gap closer. Heeed goes down. That's a 60-second timer. 2 towers taken down for the Houdinis, but you lose Heeed for another minute.
Heeed down for a minute, as well as Fire Giant spawning in exactly 1 minute. It's going to be a little bit difficult for them to get there in time. Houdinis at this point, they don't have to allow Fire Giant to go uncontested. They can start playing up a little bit. Kumbhakarna finally finishes a complete build. Everyone else's build are completely done. I might like to see Odin sell the Gladiator Shield and get something a little bit more tank heavy or even a little bit more damage heavy. Just Gladiator Shield at this point is just a bridge item. It's not too good 35 minutes into the game. I'm going to say it again, it's still anyone's match.
Yeah, this is very close. I have to, tip my hat to SpreeeN. I mean, he's never really, at least strictly KDA-wise, has never really been behind in this game. But he's had such an impact on these latest few fights. I mean, there's been good engage from the rest of the Houdinis, but the damage confirm has absolutely been there from SpreeeN. They'll need more of the same to maybe get them over the edge here and maybe find a win to take down Hype Unit in our 3rd set of the day. Leon is playing zone. That's the Oni Fury now, an important Fury to have this late in the game for Hype Unit.
Oni Fury going to create opportunities to move in towards this Fire Giant that is just now spawning. It's going to be very difficult for the Houdinis to make the decision to go in there. It's so hard to shift your mentality after you've been playing on the absolute back foot for this long. trying to shift it towards playing as the aggressor, but it looks like they've already made that adjustment as they're moving in towards the fire.
Stuns up Leon, but he's plenty tanky enough to shrug that one off. Fire Giant has moved away from, but Hype Unit looking to move back in. Killer from Visions is going to separate this fight. Darkness drapes down. Epic uppercut onto oBoronic, who crashes down, has enough shielding to keep a lot of that damage off. Ultimate flies through, doesn't find much. SpreeeN, he's in the back line. He deletes Visions here before getting traded out himself, but Uzzy still could have the stun that he needs. Layers elsewhere on the map is able to clean up the kill before dropping to Nesfor. There's plenty of damage left with the Hunters in this one. oBoronic, he's trying to kite himself off. Nesfor just needs to turn. Leon, he could gap close. There's enough healing to keep him alive. oBoronic has fallen. Heeed has dropped him. Leon, he could fall as well. What a sudden turn. Uzzy's the last left alive. Hype Unit, they've lost 4.
It's so insane to me that Houdinis have had their Phoenixes down for a full 20 minutes now, essentially, and they're immediately back into the game. And the second they were given a single opportunity, they seized it, and they haven't made too many critical mistakes now. Fire Giant should go their way. Uzzy gonna move in very quickly, should be able to contest it. His ultimate is available soon, but he has no relics available. His one's down. But his damage is so low, they could just box him out.
Yeah, if you don't steal it, you certainly don't want to die for it on the back end. Uzzy is going to try to make a play. He's engaged now. Onto Nesfor, Fire Giant still at about 4,000 health. Are you able to get the kill? He does. Uzzy moves in. There's not enough peel or enough damage. Yeah, you don't get the steal, but you delay it. And you're able to turn one around onto Heeed.
Looks like he might even elect to pull it himself to make sure it doesn't heal all the way back up. He realizes it wasn't low enough health. Look at all those. Look at all those minions. That's SpreeeN, you're all farmed, bud.
Yeah, that is tough. You nearly lost all 3 of your Phoenixes purely to minion waves. You lose your mid lane Phoenix, but a swift breeze rolls through the left or the right lane, and both of those Phoenixes fall as well.
That's what Oni Fury does. It creates opportunities for Fire Giant. If you ignore those waves, that's exactly what will happen. The Phoenix is almost dropping. That left side Phoenix was a healthy Phoenix as well. That was full health beforehand. Now, about 1 auto away from dropping. Fire Giant should go the way of Hype Unit unless Houdinis elect to move in themselves. But with mid Phoenix down and 2 Phoenix as low as they are, I don't think they can.
And Fire Giant will be picked up by Hype Unit. Heeed still down for 10 seconds. I mean, at this point, you might not even need a minion wave to try to siege these Phoenixes. You're going to maybe want them to knock down those Titans, but back to full strength now are the Houdinis, 5 members strong. Hype Unit have 5 strong on that Fire Giant as well. It might go for broke. Some of these Phoenix defenses have worked for Houdini so far.
Every ultimate available outside of Nesfor, and Nesfor, again, the only active down. It's going to be a hard defense for the Houdinis. No beads available for Xbalanque. Hell, however, as now full build Soul Reaver Obsidian Shard, she's got so much damage available to her. Anyone that looks to dive her will be in a world of hurt.
They're moving in to that right side Phoenix here, and the engage is through from Uzzy, who's just going to spin his way to the back line. Epic uppercut connects onto oBoronic one more time. Heeed is there to follow up. Layers, he gets the 1v1 kill onto SpreeeN. That's been an important member of the Houdinis team fight. Heeed is now caught out back behind Hype Unit. Titan is under attack just by the minion waves this time. Uzzy still kind of working around this right side Phoenix. Layers is very low as well, and he's been kind of the linchpin in this Hype Unit fight as well. It looks like they're going to take that right side Phoenix and now maybe pivot to the left.
Left side Phoenix is the right call now. They need Layers to heal up a little bit over time with this Fire Giant. He doesn't want to back at this point because it's the best opportunity they have. 40 seconds left on SpreeeN spawn, so it looks like he's going to go ahead and back up, try and get this wave up to that Phoenix right now, but they really don't require the wave. As I said, Enhanced Fire Giant will ignore backdoors as Nesfor gets taken in the air.
Hey, they're trying to fight underneath this Phoenix that's no longer there. oBoronic, he's so low. They found him in the back line. Heeed is looking to clean up the kill. Bayroneri, maybe a little bit of healing, but not enough to turn around the damage that oBoronic is outputting. Heeed is going to buy himself some time with a little bit of shielding, jumps up and over that pillar, but moves backwards. Hype Unit, they're going to continue moving forward here. 2 Phoenixes down, Titan potentially under attack. 1 second left on SpreeeN, 55 though on Bayroneri, and that's a big loss.
55 on Bayroneri being your main damage output and your healer. That's going to be really hard. I know I said main damage, but 19,000 not looking like it, but she has the best burst.
And they've punched Visions this time in the back line. SpreeeN, he's moved in. He's found the kill onto oBoronic. He might be able to root some as well. Uzzy's got a few attentions turned toward him in the back line, and she is going to get himself out before Leon stuns him up. Uzzy does get out alive before falling, so it looks like it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, and Maybe 2 here after she is going to fall. There's going to let the passive timeout, and Layers grabs that kill. She is up in 60 seconds with Bayroneri up in 15, but they did lose Kukulkan. oBoronic, that was such an important part of their team fight. So it's a 1-for-1 trade when the dust settles.
Not only their team fight, but their potential damage onto Titans and their ability to siege Phoenixes is severely crippled by the loss of oBoronic. Polynomicon is going to affect Phoenixes so well, but doesn't matter really. I told you, man, Enhanced Fire Giant is so strong. 3 Phoenixes down for Houdinis. I mean, historically, I think throughout the entire 7-year run of competitive Smite, 3 Phoenixes down has only been came back from twice, maybe thrice.
If when there's something about you and I in these 40-minute plus games, and Houdinis have kept us in them, and it was Houdinis in set number 1, and it's Houdinis here in set number 3 of the day. Hype unit, you still call them in control just because of map objectives being in their favor. Fire Giant still up for them for about another 30 seconds on the members that still have it. They're going to get the Primal Fury as well. But it seems like the base is in such shambles for the Houdinis. You just need one good fight, and you might take this game.
Hey, man, I mean, that mid Phoenix just came back up. The solo lane Phoenix, it's hard to remember which one's the solo lane now that the towers have been gone for so long, but that is the right side of the map. That Phoenix should be spawning before too long. If the Houdinis can get the mid Phoenix and at least one more back up, they might be able to reset this game to neutral. However, it's going to be so difficult, especially with Hype Unit already knocking on the door of this Fire Giant spawning in about 1 minute. They have the establishing factor of the Phoenix being down furthest away from the Fire Giant, so that's going to be flooding in, as well as the Phoenix down closest to Fire Giant. It's the worst one to have, but it's still another Phoenix. Never bad to have.
All you need is one engagement if you're Hype Unit. You're going to be able to tie up this set. They're going to pull themselves off of the Pyromancer, but Layers is going to use that consumable, give himself some extra damage. Leon takes to the skies as Uzzy moves onto the carries of the Houdinis. A split fight as we've seen throughout this game. Bayroneri deleted by Layers, and the oBoronic ultimate flies on through, and suddenly Heeed is so low he can't stay alive much longer. A double kill from the set may have put this game to bed, and Uzzy is able to get out alive. Not before Heeed turns around the kill onto Layers. oBoronic, though, and Uzzy, they found themselves a low-health Odin who's forced to blink, jump himself back over the wall. You lose Layers, but you pick up Bayroneri and Nesfor. A net win there for Hype Unit.
Net win indeed. Now they're going to go ahead and re-pull that Pyromancer that they originally pulled, the one that Houdinis moved in and took the fight around. You got to wait until the actual Fire Giant is being contested. That's when you want to take your fights. Solo side Phoenix has spawned, but for how long?
The minions got it again.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
I think the minions have officially taken more Phoenixes this game than anyone on Hype Unit combined. Titan under attack, Fire Giant started, Fire Giant completed. Shia was in range, and now he's going to get CC'd through. You have 2 members already down, and you're going to make it 3. Suddenly SpreeeN and Heeed are the only 2 left alive here from the Houdinis. Mifflin, you got a Fire Giant, you got 4 members strong. They're going to barrel into the base of the Houdinis, and you're going to need a miracle defense.
Hey, Dave. I bet Hype Unit wins, man.
You think?
I think so. 2 Phoenixes down, Enhanced Fire Giant, 2 people still dead, 1 now in the side of Shia dead for 50 more seconds. This Phoenix should melt just about instantly. No one can get in range to contest it. As you see that Polynomicon proc with the Enhanced Fire Giant? That was 800 damage in an auto to a tower. Phoenix, I should say, from Kukulkan.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Well, there are 3 Phoenixes down now, thanks no large part to that Polynomicon. So Titan just a little bit chipped away. 3 Phoenixes down. Maybe you just wait for your minions to get in. 5 strong from Hype Unit. 30 seconds still on Shia. This is going to be a numbers advantage for Hype, but you have the Titan on your side if that's where you choose to take this fight. Uzzy has moved himself around to the right-hand flank here. Bayroneri is going to try to poke some damage before he engages, and he's able to do so. But 4 members of Hype Unit are going to start to crawl their way forward. At this point, you might even just be able to ignore the rest of the fight and just identify the Titan. They might do that, but they've knocked one up. Bayroneri, he's found the first kill in this fight. Titan melted down Hype Unit. You step a toe in the base, and that's all you need to do. Let's turn all the focus there, and they're able to tie up this set.
Yeah, 45 minutes. What took them, should have taken them maybe 20. They were in the driver's seat for so long.
Yeah, right.
Houdinis for a split second, a ray of hope. All Might, bringing out 100% that he could. Just, what was it, New York?
Yeah, New York. No, it's a United States smash.
Yeah,
or
United
whatever,
States of smash. It just wasn't enough from Houdinis, unfortunately. Hype Unit popping off again, able to close up the set 1-1.
I don't know, though. I mean, you get the win if you're Hype Unit, but you're maybe frustrated that it took 45 minutes to finally finish this one off. They do tie up this set nonetheless, which means we have a game 3 right after Finch breaks this one down.
Man, my hero reference is easy way into my heart. Appreciate that one there, Myth and Dolson. You guys have been through the ringer today with some long games, but Hype Unit have evened this set up. And speaking of set, Gormizer, I mean, I think that's probably got a lot to do with it, huh?
Yeah.
Layers had an absolute monster performance on this set pick, man.
So it's really funny because early on I was like, man, the jungles are running the show this game.
They were.
But Layers is kind of like the true star right now. And then later I just wrote, yeah, Layers. Like, I didn't need any more explanation for myself. And I don't think anyone else does either. 15, 5, and 8. He did a lot in terms of kills. 34,000 damage, the highest on his team, the highest in the game, save for Nesfor on the other side. I mean, he just did everything you needed to. He was closing the gap. He was getting the kills. We were kind of making jokes that, you know, like, oh, man, Visions is kind of getting just unprotected. No one cares whether or not Visions gets taken down in these fights.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's because they were protecting someone else, and it was Layers every single time.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they eventually ran into a wall with this composition, which is that there was very little engage on it. You and I were talking about on the desk about how there was good setup for this Kukulkan, but that wasn't necessarily the same thing as a good setup for starting off your fights, right? Or good ways to sort of break that initial barrier and then get back there to the back line. And in particular, there just was not much peel. Visions was going to die in the back line there regardless. But to be fair, so far throughout this set, Visions has had almost no impact, right? I mean, I don't think that there is going to be much attention spent on making sure Vision stays alive because he just has not played particularly well. The rest of Hype Unit, though, kind of as we expected, have had a really, really strong performance so far, and I think that they could still win this set.
And honestly, I think a lot of what we got to see there was power picks that came through. Set, maybe not so much. Kukulkan made it a lot easier. I mean, his ult is literally just a delete button and might as well just be replaced with a delete icon as long as you hit it. And they used it for the secure, they used it for the Titan kill, they used it for countless kills onto anybody that happened to be there on Houdinis. So I think if you take care of that, granted it depends on which pick you are, maybe you won it yourself for Houdinis, they're going to have to kind of play around that. But I don't know what you do about that set, because I can't justify taking away one of those amazing bands that they already have and letting something else go through for Layers there. So they're going to have to play this one carefully.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a tough situation we're trying to deal with Seth. He's such a hyper carry, right? He has that potential when he gets to the late game where no one can trade with him one-on-one.
He just does so much.
And you kind of saw, I mean, he was trading 2-for-1 with his life at the end of the game every single time.
Hit your ult, go in that fight. That's all you want to do. You're just like, all right, I see 2, target, let's go. Ult's out, little claws come through, and he's just like running them down.
Yeah, he was able to take on just about anybody. Well, let's move into those picks in bands now for game number 3. Houdinis will be in that first pick selection. And can I just say, by the way, I'm a bit surprised, man. Houdinis have actually had a really good day so far today, and I don't know that I would have predicted that coming into it. So even if they aren't able to close this game out, I'm still really impressed with what they've done here so far.
Oh, for sure.
Though obviously they still have a chance to grab this win here up against a really strong Hype Unit team.
I mean, winning their first set that we saw earlier today is going to be huge, but the fact that they've just taken one game off of Hype Unit is a big deal. Let alone the fact that they could take another one. Like, they still have the possibility of being able to put this up, and that puts them in a prime position to be one of the leaders in this group.
And I kind of want them to prioritize the Vamana again. I feel like that made a big difference for Heeed in that soul lane. It has not been picked up here just yet. I don't know if they want to maybe first pick that one overall when there's still a lot of other really good picks out there right now, but it seemed to make a big difference in that soul lane matchup in terms of both limiting Uzzy's impact and setting up for Heeed to have a much better game.
And it's like that question of like, man, Vamana's been really good for both teams. We have Camazotz doing incredibly well. We've seen Heimdall now unbanned.
Scylla,
like, the question is, all these people who are open, where are we going to go? And yeah, it's a Scylla first pick. I don't know if I would have ever called it.
I know that you wouldn't catch me calling it, right? I mean, here's the thing. I'm not saying that Scylla's so bad you cannot ever pick it, but you have to think about value-based drafting, I would say, right? And I cannot think of a reason why she has to be taken
over Persephone as well.
Yeah, over a lot of other different stuff, right? That's the point where I think I'd get a bit hung up on that pick. I mean, obviously it worked. The Scylla game did go well for them early on today, right? It's just that I don't know if you got to pick it right away.
I mean, look, she do damage good. That's what she do. That's all she do.
Undoubtedly.
And I mean, that's really where the line is drawn. It's something like Mifflin called her like unoptimized. It's just like she does one thing and she does it really well, and that is I hit 2, you dead. And sometimes I hit 4, you dead. Maybe occasionally you need both of them, but in a lot of these instances she just controls the lane because of that damage, not for anything else. So I'm wondering if, well, Hype Unit are hoping that works out well. I think it's going to depend mostly on what they pair with it in the jungle. Could be the Naja, could be some decent setup for like a crush after the ult, Or it could be something else. They might throw that Najah to the support again.
Yeah, it's surprising to me for a ton of reasons, especially with Camazotz here. It doesn't apply Divine Ruin particularly well. I don't know.
No,
I can talk
yeah.
all day about how I think Scylla is perfectly average, but we got to move on. There's other stuff here in this draft. The Vamana does end up getting picked up, but it's by Hype Unit, and I wonder if that's because Houdinis want to take this Camazotz over into the solo lane for Heeed. That is still a ton of sustain.
Yeah.
It is still pretty unpeelable backline dive, so I think Camazotz does a lot of the same stuff that we would have said Vamana would have done anyway.
I like it when you get this
Maybe
kind of.
jungle.
It's like they Hype Unit ban out a Serket and a Ratatoska. Like, oh, that's absolutely a solo Camazotz. So like, nah, I'm just gonna take Cullen now. We'll be happy. But on the other side, you're happier because you're like, that Najah is absolutely support. They just banned 2 junglers. We can ban Set so that you don't get something you were just comfortable on if you're Layers. And we'll take care of that Xbalanque because he's been a problem child. It's kind of weird to see him go from like first pick in some of these games or top 4 in a lot of these games to the final ban that you see in the game.
Yeah, they're willing to wait a long time to make this Mercury pick happen, but Mercury has similar hyper carry potential to what Set
Yeah,
has.
he
Maybe
does.
not quite as much, but he certainly can blow you up in 1 or 2 shots if he's able to get that full build online. I like both of these drafts here from these 2 teams, but there's a good amount of sustain here for Houdinis. Hyper are going to have to find a way to deal with that.
Honestly, I think it's not just the sustain, but I mean, looking at the fact that there's so much damage potential for Hype Unit as well, it's up in the air.
It's going to be a tough matchup. Game number 3, the decider. Dulcin, start us off.
Oh, one more time for us today, Mifflin. We got a game 3 in set number 1. We're going to get a game 3 here in set number 3. And I think you have to give your hats off to Houdinis. You take not only a game off of Hype Unit, yeah, you fall in game number 2. But I think purely on name recognition basis, you're assuming Hype Unit run away with this set, and that has just not been the case.
I would say they run away with it free had I not known anything about it, but Houdinis are making an absolute fantastic showing and stealing away the speed buff from Layers. That's a rough start, especially for your Mercury. Looks like he's going to try and move his way over to red buff. It's not going to be any easier there, buddy. Terra's not leaving you alone.
This is what Leon did last time as well. They sent Shiaaaaa just right on through to try to engage. Leon just kind of hung out with his dual laner. He's going to get collapsed on this time around. Stun is up. They drop it down.
I think he stole the
Pick
red
it up
buff as
just
well.
yet. We'll have to see if they cycle back and pick that one up. Shiaaaaa is going to just try to get out with his life this time, but you got 3 people, soon to be 4, looking at you. Layers finishes off the kill. He does steal it away, so nobody picks up that red buff, but you lose first blood.
I mean, taking away 2 buffs there, although losing first blood, that's about as ideal as you want. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll never, ever stop saying it. The first buff stolen is not a lead make. It's whether or not you can get those return rotations. If you get the second buff or the third buff, it's how many times you can take it away. That's where you get the gold and XP lead. The first one's an inconvenience. The second one's a problem.
I mean, you're sad, right, that you're 1 level behind SpreeeN here, but you're happy that a Mercury that usually builds into that late game has already got himself some gold on the board, and if you can then turn that into some presence elsewhere on the map, that's a big thumbs up.
As well as the fact that he elected to go the boots 1 start. You don't often see that. Oboronic! Whoa, you've died to Bayroneri, buddy. Easily.
Here's me looking at the level differential, and then I look up and suddenly Oboronic is dead.
Yeah, I mean, Persephone always going to have that long-ranged poke, but usually that's all it is poke. Instead, Oboronic showing everybody at home why I think Scylla's not the best character.
I was going to say, we've torn down Scylla, and finally we see why. She has a 100% win rate, and finally we see, or a very high percentage win rate at least. And now we finally see where that immobility maybe comes into play.
That immobility, the inability to clear waves very easily. It's going to take 2 or 3 crushes to really clear out a wave at this point in the game. For one, although it's a decent self-peel tool, it has to wait till it's maxed out before it can hit more than 1 target. It's not easy.
And you're happy now if you're Bayroneri, as you've moved yourself into a little bit of a lead there in that middle lane. So I guess you have to look now at Layers, who is continually being pestered by Shiaaaaa here, and look to try to steal away that blue buff as well. SpreeeN gets stunned up, but Vision's still under attack here. I think he already used his escape, and SpreeeN is able to move in and grab the kill.
I mean, Visions, this time, you're not the one getting the free ganks from your boy Layers. It seems like SpreeeN's seen that duo lane's the way to go, but on the other side of the map, you're going to lose out there as well, turning it to a 1-for-1 trade. 2-2 is the slash line 3 minutes into the game. This is the fastest kills we've seen all day, I think.
Yeah, that's right. We were 2-2, like 8 minutes into game number 2 in this set, so they've definitely kicked up the pace just a little bit. I'm not sure who I'm less excited, you know, who I'm playing against, if I'm less excited to be against a Mercury who already has a kill and an assist on the board, or a Camazotz who's already gone down to that long lane and found himself a kill. I think both of these junglers, if they get to a spot where they're getting a gold lead against other gods on this map, they can have massive impact.
Mercury, especially with that global ultimate, is going to be able to find himself just about all over the map all the time. But I got to give the shouts to Camazotz. It's one of the best characters in the game, and for my money, the best character in the game. The damage output, the sustain, the survivability in his ultimate, as well as just the survivability from the sustain, as well as a longer jump now than it used to be. Camazotz is an insanely good character in multiple roles, and it's showing now SpreeeN finding himself active in the game, finding a kill before 4 minutes.
Right, sort of his ultimate is either that get out of jail free, as you put it, or try to engage and find a little bit more damage. Sort of a best of both worlds situation for SpreeeN on that Camazotz. So both junglers have found themselves early kills in this game. Who has more of an impact remains to be seen. It is a bit of a lead, though, for Nesfor, who was able to grab the assist, but Visions snagged an assist on the first blood as well, so nothing to be found there. Bayroneri already got a solo kill here, and he's looking to do the same. It's not on oBoronic again. Leon is likely able to get out with his life this time around. You don't often see that, these big solo kills happening this early on. Good stun is going to knock back SpreeeN, but plenty of damage makes Visions think twice about hanging around. Bayroneri has shown us, if nothing else, you got to be careful of this Persephone in lane. Mercury rims on through. Shiaaaaa down to about 10% HP and some healing. He double dashes right back through. The power of the Terra keeps him alive just for a moment. Leon uses his ultimate to buy himself some time as well. He's going to drop back down to earth with Heeed trembling just a few. Leon with the knock up, not back down, is going to be locked up by Heeed here. Not enough damage to finish off the kill, and Leon gets out alive. Bayroneri rejoining on this fight, doesn't have the ultimate as he used it a moment ago. That's a nice knock up from Heeed, blink in from SpreeeN,
Huge
cleans up
damage.
the kill. Here's your offensive swoop, one more is all you need, a double kill for the Camazotz. Uzzy, he's still underneath this tier 1 tower, but call it a 2 for none.
I mean, Camazotz, he did show up late, but he made his impact known, picks up the kill with the first ability, drops himself into the air, picks up another kill, and oBoronic, in a little bit of trouble here, loses his beads
Who
out.
said she's immobile?
Oh, yeah, she made it over that wall. Imagine if Nesfor had jumped over that wall as well. I mean, she'd probably be dead.
Yeah, I guess that's I know somebody is probably over there from Hype Unit. I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. If nothing, oBoronic is very nervous to have even been that close to death, but he does get himself out to safety. Thanks in large part to the small amount of mobility that Scylla does have in her kit. So after being solo killed by Bayroneri, oBoronic has done a decent job of keeping himself relevant in this game with good rotations, trying to steal away some farm where he sees fit. But SpreeeN, I think, is really where you have to look here. You got an early kill in the long lane onto Visions and has now turned that into a double kill elsewhere on the map. This Camazotz has already got 3 kills under his belt 6.5 minutes into the game.
Scylla no longer has her beads available either, so at any point if she gets engaged on with CC, she's gonna fall. She uses her jump, Persephone can chase it with the ultimate. With the help of SpreeeN, that should be a free kill. They've got about 100 seconds to abuse that. It's whether or not they identify that. Nesfor can return back to his lane, sitting pretty as well with the lead on this aggressive Houdinis. It's gonna be very difficult for Visions to farm safely, as well as the fact that ganks from SpreeeN are always a constant threat now that he's identified that he's going to go over there at least twice already this game, 7 minutes in.
Heeed is low here, but there's not much of a rotation to counter back from Hype Unit, so Uzzy will burn his ultimate, and Heeed will likely fall down here, back to his normal form. He's going to get the stun onto Uzzy, and there are rotations happening by that blue buff, Tremble. But Uzzy is just going to walk back to safety. Nesfor is low, Visions is as well. Here's a blue buff fight, Leon locked down. Enough damage from Bayroneri might set up this fight for success. oBoronic is chained up. The ultimate times out, and they're going to back themselves off. Blue buff is stolen away by the Houdinis, but that's about all there is in this one.
Meanwhile, Houdini's also going to go ahead and take this purple buff. Vision's been absolutely locked under this tower the entirety of the game, but Camazotz, no ultimate available, going to look for the engagement anyway. Got to be wary.
So much damage. Oh my, Bayroneri turns it around. Leon evaporated. You're not quite to that late game tanky point on this Nausha just yet. He gets deleted off of the map. Bayroneri has found an early and often impact on this Persephone, much the same as his jungler. And Houdinis are doing a great job of playing around this mid lane.
3-0 and 2-0, your mid-jungle combo, making that a total 5-0.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need. I mean, controlling the center of the map, it's the best place to win. Winning on either side, you know, it's far away from one of the objectives. You'll be near one of them, but winning the center is always going to be impactful. Having that ahead mid laner is going to only transfer that lead to the other side lanes as well. Keeping your mid laner ahead keeps your jungler ahead. It's a trickle-down effect, if you would. SpreeeN definitely benefiting off the back of this dominant Persephone pick. Finding that early kill onto Scylla was huge. Unfortunately, it doesn't really translate to a level lead for either of them. 9-9, 8-8. That is the mid laners and junglers for both sides, unfortunately, for them. However, the gold deficit is where it's really going to start showing, and Transcendix just now getting stacked up by Camazotz. He's going to be looking all the more powerful just from farming.
Yeah, and SpreeeN is going to hurt with that Transcendence online. Layerssss has moved himself into that early Erendite on the Mercury that sometimes is a bit later of an item in some people's builds, but he is going to go right into that. Curious at all that he's picked that up this early.
I mean, 75 power.
Yeah, certainly not bad.
Additional movement speed and all that good stuff that Mercury benefits from using his ultimate. It's only going to be put to good use here against Heeed as that first punch slammed him for 200.
But he's in rage form, so he's able to dash out of this one alive. Uzzy's going to heal himself back up. Layers found a good engage, but maybe poor timed as Heeed was just transforming as they came in, steal away the blue buff, so a bit of a loss there from Uzzy, but Leon takes to the sky, is going to lock down SpreeeN, who takes almost 0 damage right into the I'm a Monster, but the disengages in from the ultimate double lockdown, and the Houdinis ult drops as well. Bayroneri grabs his third. Nesfor combines for some damage and gets his first in this game. A beautiful executed team fight there from the Houdinis.
And I'm going to keep preaching this truth. If it's any other god, SpreeeN dies there. His ultimate allows him bat out of hell, removes him from the playfield, and not only did it remove him from the playfield, he can still deal damage to you. Instead of just running away, he hovered above you, swooped down twice, did 100 damage per swipe just about onto 2 targets, turning what would have been a surefire death off of the Naja ult into a perfect fight for the Houdinis. Now 2.5 thousand gold in the lead over Hype Unit. He's sitting pretty. SpreeeN's got to be happy about that one. Hype, though, looking at Gold Fury.
Yeah, might be able to pull something back for themselves. First tower of the game dropped in the short lane. Hype Unit, they do snag the Gold Fury. Visions is low, but Bayroneri is locked up, so no follow-up there. So a well-executed play by Hype Unit to keep themselves relevant in this early kind of transitioning into mid-game. Yeah, the gold differential is just now 3,000 after a Gold Fury took it down about a notch. So things were getting dire there early on here. Still dire, I would say. Houdini's very much still ahead of this one. Because it seems like there's nowhere to rotate if you're Hype Unit, because so much of the power is in this jungle and you're not sure where SpreeeN is at any given time, and Bayroneri has so much power in his back pocket as well. You have to be cautious everywhere on this map.
If I'm on Hype Unit right now, if I'm Layers, I'm looking towards the duo lane. This Houdi's been playing aggressive all match, keeping our boy Visions under his tower the entire time. If Layers can find a kill onto this Houdi, it's going to be a very high value kill in terms of golden experience for Layers, as well as it'll relieve a little bit of the pressure. And as I say it, Mercury's starting to show up over there. I kind of love that.
Yeah, it's always a nice win when exactly what you're hoping for tends to happen, but you're just going to split some golden XP on that back Harpy, or the bottom Harpy.
Instead, SpreeeN.
Harpy, rather.
Gonna look for it.
Close by. Has maybe more kill potential than Layers. Maybe not quite the same gap close, but plenty of damage to delete Visions if he does get too close. Might just help his long lane try to secure this purple buff, because nothing has really been given for free here by the Houdinis up to this point in this game. But
pinged out by Nesfor. It seems like they know that the jungler is there. I mean, Hype Unit, as long as they're farming right now, it's all good from here on out. They just need to start playing a little bit slower. Houdinis, it's really on them. They have the burden of the lead, is what I'm going to call it, kind of like the burden of truth in a court of law. Now that they have the lead, they have to actually assume the driver's seat. They could elect to just continue farming, but with a lead as large as this, they can start moving in towards the Pyromancer once it spawns, or even look to force the mid tower as soon as that is grouped up around. They could look to just force a fight in the jungle. At any point, they need to start taking this lead further, especially with this Camazotz in the jungle. That's such a powerhouse to have ahead that they need to really just start leveraging it.
Yeah, Hype Unit would be just fine if Houdini's elected just to keep farming here for the next 15 or so minutes.
Hype Unit would love it, I bet.
Yeah, right. That'd be real nice. And the Houdinis are likely not going to let that happen this time around. It is a bit of a lull here in this game as they're just going to lock down. No serious map objectives up for grabs just yet. Fire Giant is there, but that might be the earliest one I've ever seen picked up at 13 minutes, especially with 5 members on the enemy team. You're not that strong, but Layers has moved himself into the rage, and that's maybe more what I expected early on. I'm so used to seeing that early and often crit on this Mercury. He gets the Erendite first, but once that rage gets stacking, Mercury's going to hit real hard.
Layers isn't the only one picking up rage. Take a look at those ADC builds. Nesfor elects to pick it up as well.
Yeah, please.
Differentiating himself from Visions, who's going into what I can only assume is going to be an Executioner.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't get the memo that crit is real good this season, despite any tweets you may have seen from your favorite pros. Crit is actually incredibly potent, as Heeed got a little bit bored of this slower pace and moved into the enemy jungle, bullying out Layers and forcing the beats.
He was yawning and maybe even been able to re-engage. Leon sniped from downtown. Shiaaaaa is in range. He's going to follow up with a little bit of CC of his own. Healing is there for Heeed. Still in rage form. Dashes in. Shiaaaaa finds the final shot. Well-executed team fighting there from the Houdinis. Beautiful communication. Oboronic suddenly under his tier 2. He's no longer safe. Layers flies on through. Oboronic is low. SpreeeN with the final swoop is going to grab the kill. Uzzy, he uses his ultimate to buy himself some healing and a little bit of time as well, as we stand 2 down from Hype Unit as the Houdinis move towards this tier 1 tower.
It should be a free tier 1. That's 2 tier 1s fallen now. And now that the Pyromancers are going to spawn in a couple seconds and Gold Fury's only about a minute away, Houdinis pushed their lead a little bit further, opened up the map through that mid tower, and now Visions in some trouble.
He's looking dead right now. Nesfor, Heeed is going to be the one teching up that tower, and Bayroneri is there on the escape. Good up-down, just extends his life a little bit. But a well-juggled tower aggro there from the Houdinis is going to be a free kill onto Visions, the 3rd total in this lengthy engagement. And after that slight dip right over there at that 11.5-minute mark, it's been a slow and steady increase back to 5K for the Houdinis here, gold-wise, 7 and some change. But Hype Unit, if nothing else, have been good about trading out the objective. Shiaaaaa is not able to steal this one away and is going to root and dash himself out. So Hype Unit grabbed the Pyromancer on the back end of losing a few members.
This is the core difference between Houdinis and Hype Unit, what it seems. When Hype Unit's in the lead, it's almost visceral, it's a little bit savage. They're moving in, they're taking fights everywhere and just leveraging their mechanical skill as well as their lead to just take constant fights whether or not they're good. Whereas the Houdinis, they take it a little bit more disciplined. When one player is winning, they're all winning. Hype Unit kind of really feeds off of Layers' energy, and if he can't hit the ground running, it seems like Hype Unit has nothing to lean on.
Oboronic is going to just root up Shiaaaaa here after they secure up that Fury. Visions low once again, both relics burnt. That equals a dead Anhur, and Oboronic may suffer the same
Nice
fate.
shot!
Oh, from downtown, Bayroneri connects, but nobody's in range to finish off that kill. Heeed is just going to face tank 3 members of Hype Unit here. We'll see if he's able to get out alive. So close to transforming into that rage form, knocks up 3.
He's gonna take this fight.
Just locked into his blue buff. The only reason I'm curious is he may be able to grab a kill, but enough CC, enough knockups are finally gonna knock Heeed down a peg. Blink in from SpreeeN. There's plenty of damage on that Camazotz to finish off some of these low health targets. Uses the active here, and SpreeeN decides to turn tail and head back. There is a bit of a collapse, though. Watch out for Bayroneri rotating back around Fire Giant. No ultimate for him here. Can you hit your shots?
Nice
yes,
shot.
you can. Leon goes down. Uzzy getting chipped away at as well. A well-executed team fighting, all set up by Heeed, who now sits at 0-1-6.
Uzzy is the tank. I want to point that out. SpreeeN just slammed him in the face for 350 damage from a range. They're the exact same level, and that's the power of Camazotz. Off the top of my head, I want to say the second ability has 130% physical scaling. Let's see if I'm right.
Oh, it does.
Ooh, we love that.
Myth, you're on one today, baby.
Dude,
yeah.
Chair 2, baby, let's go.
130, yeah, and you connect, so you get healing, a massive amount of damage, especially if you've hit your Screech and received some
that
of the
additional
blowback
power,
from that as well.
And as well as the dot over time and the slow off of Vampire Batz. It's such a potent character. Pros, if you're listening to me, stop letting Camazotz through, all right? You don't want to play against it, trust me.
I think it's the only people who are not banning Camazotz are the ones that are first picking, because you'll take them on your team every day of the week. I'm trying to think, the last time we saw Camazotz lose, I mean, there was an over priority almost, an anti-heal. But it's been so long since I've seen Camazotz lose that I can't quite remember how they played against it.
And I'm not even Camazotz losing is almost never going to be Camazotz's fault.
Sure.
It's all tertiary issues coming through the rest of the team.
I guess that, you know, maybe that's a weakness. You need the rest of your team around you to be doing something as well.
Camazotz can't well, sometimes Camazotz can 1v5, but maybe not this time. Houdinis grouping up around this Fire Giant. That's a little bit interesting. You don't often see this random pull, especially at 18 minutes.
Well, Hype Unit are in range. Save 2 members. Layerssss is going to have a gap closed with his ultimate, but there's only 3 members actively here from Hype Unit. Fire Giant still pulled by Nesfor down to about half health. Shiaaaaa uses the ultimate to top off some of those health bars as he moves in, pops the ultimate. Fire Giant still pulled here. Nesfor drops down the ultimate for a little bit of extra damage as well. Fire Giant solo. Houdinis, they're able to secure this one and grab a kill on the back end. A big win here for them and a big shift in this game.
Visions might be able to pick up this tier 2 tower, but nope, never mind. I take it back. You better get out of there. Big brother Heed's coming at you, and he's already transformed.
He's just going to run towards him. I don't imagine this continues to be much more. But it is FG secured here, and you have that for another 3.5 minutes, 20 minutes into this game. 3 tier 2 towers left standing. So there's still a lot for the taking here if you're the Houdinis, and you have not shied away from fights up to this point. I can't imagine anything changes now that you've got fire.
5,000 gold, leaning towards Houdinis. 3 tier 2 towers available, 7,000 experience. I imagine, I say it every time, especially when a Fire Giant drops this early, they might be able to pick up 2 tier 2 towers. That's my prediction. Depending on whether or not Hype Unit elects to defend it, I can't imagine they give them up. It's such a huge gold swing. And then just as soon as they're done with those first 2 tier 2s, I imagine they'll move in towards that Gold Fury, spend that gold, and start, you know, doing the cycle of a winning Smite team, which is, I'm going to get the Fire Giant, do a couple objectives, return to base, spend the gold from those objectives, maybe take a fight if they're willing to fight me. I don't imagine Hype Unit ever wants to fight truly. And then, you know, get another Fire Giant, a couple more objectives.
2 more objectives, right?
Win the game, probably.
We've seen, I feel like, of the games we've casted today, and granted, they've all been pretty long, a lot of them have gone down to all 3 Phoenixes being down, and Leon might be the most recent to go down. The dash is through, but you got one more swoop if you're SpreeeN. Suddenly, 2 members bearing down on you. Oboronic has fallen elsewhere on this map to the hands of Shiaaaaa, but SpreeeN is going to tank up enough damage to take down a small country here. The mid lane Phoenix is under duress. Heeed drops his ultimate. That's Nesfor. Shiaaaaa drops the ultimate as well. Uzzy is going to get onto the back line, but he's not quite fed enough this time around to solo them. Phoenix is down in a 1-for-1, or 2-for-1 trade rather. Still has the Houdinis in front.
SpreeeN picks up that early kill and forces 3 people back to chase him off of that. If he gets out alive, it's so bad for them. Hype Unit has to allocate more people to killing him because he's so powerful they couldn't send just one even though he was inside their base. And that opens up the map just enough for Houdinis to take away that mid-Phoenix. It's not the best Phoenix to take, but it's still a Phoenix, and it's certainly good.
Well, Uzzy is kept with that kind of dive onto the carries, backline play style with the Vamana. A slight difference, though, in build. It's been the Breastplate of Valor pretty often, as Oni Fury will get secured by Hype Unit. But we've seen the Hastened Katana kind of as that second item completed after the boots. This time, though, it's the Frostbound. Maybe the same idea there. Instead of speeding yourself up, you're going to slow them down, but it also gives you a little bit of extra health.
I kind of love the Frostbound pickup in that on its own, Frostbound is almost always worse. Reducing movement speed by 30% isn't enough usually to keep up with just about anybody, whereas Hastened is going to give you additional movement speed and make you move faster as you're attacking. Usually you see them in conjuncture if you ever see Frostbound picked up at all. But I will say, it is the more toxic pickup every second. Moving yourself faster feels good for you, and that's it. Making someone else move slower just feels terrible for everybody.
Right, it feels good for you when they're slow, and also feels bad for them because they're slow. It's a double whammy.
Instead of you just feeling good going fast.
And unfortunately, I don't know if that's enough to make Uzzy feel good in this one. I mean, he's only at 1-2-1, but the rest of his team has just fallen deep around him here as the final tier 2 tower will fall, and that's still the mid lane Phoenix is the only one that's down. FG still on for another 20 seconds. But hey, Mifflin, they got Fire Giant.
Yep.
They secured a couple objectives. The Fire Giant's going to fall off.
Yep.
And I think they're going to go back and get another Fire Giant.
You know what? I think that might be the play. Maybe beforehand, back spend all the gold they got, get some wards around that Fire Giant. Hype Unit can look to steal here, and I would imagine it's the best play they have. They have to look to steal because this lead is so detrimental. 10,000 at 22 minutes is insane. 10,000 at 45 minutes, not a huge deal. 22 minutes, absolutely nuts. Look at the wards placed again, though. Layers, buddy, you got to get those numbers up. Only 4. You get a free ward every 2 minutes. You're not hitting. You didn't hit level 12 until 12 minutes. That's 6 free wards. What are you doing, bud? That's only 4. Dropped. Same to you, Heeed. These guys,
He
man.
was trying to farm his way back into this game after some I wouldn't, not necessarily on his part, but you know, it was a bit of a messy early game, kind of from both sides, a little bit more chaotic maybe than you're used to. But Visions.
Nice ult from Camazotz. My jaw dropped. That's not easy to do.
There you go. Thank you, Doug. SpreeeN
Yeah,
is
it's SpreeeN.
give us what we have cast. This is our 6th game, 5th hour of, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, we've done it for a while today. It's been a long one, and there's still more Smite
They've
to
been
come.
good, though. They've been good games here today. Houdinis have taken it to Hype Unit, though. In the 3rd game of this best of 3, it is a mountain to climb. It might even get bigger as Fire Giant is started and likely secured here by the Houdinis. So that one's going to fall.
It should fall for free as well. The only one moving in close enough to even attempt to contest is Scylla, and she's not going in there alone.
She's running away. She's using her mobility to run away from that.
Yeah, look how fast she is.
You were kind of questioning the lack of crit from Visions early on, and it kind of stuck the same. Devos, Executioners, Keen Size, and then you get kind of this one crit item towards the end, and it's not the Rage that we've so often seen first.
If that's Poison Star, it still doesn't make sense, but it's better than the alternative being Wind Demon. It's just a goofy pickup, and it tells me that Visions, although being the coach of the squad, hasn't played since Season 4.
Well, he jumps into the back line, and you're going to need some of that crit from Visions to help them win this fight. Uzzy melted down. Middle 8 Phoenix respawns. Uzzy's in the ultimate, but will fall down shortly. Heeed has just kind of face-tanked 3 members of Hype Unit here, while the rest of his team is going to take that right side Phoenix, and mid lane Phoenix will fall shortly as well. There are minions on the left-hand side, plenty big enough wave if they choose to turn their eyes there. It looks like that's where the rest of the team will rotate. A perfect storm of waves crashing in. Both teams still 5 men strong.
3 Phoenixes down, Hype Unit. You guys need to not let them into your base at all. That Titan's probably only got about 6,000 health, if I'm remembering correct. I probably shouldn't have said a number. I've been on such a roll. It's 7850.
Hey, close.
You know what? I was in the digits, same amount of digits, 4 digits, you know.
Right.
So
yeah, the Titan is at 1,001 HP, but it's 4 digits, so I'm close enough, right? Same idea.
The second Houdinis get in there, they've got so much damage in each one of their kits and survivability that Titan will just instantly fall regardless of how many team members you have alive on the side of Hype.
And waves are beginning to crash here. Right side wave has moved itself in. Mid lane wave is going to move itself in as well. So Hype Unit are going to have a bit of a split approach here, and Houdini's doing the same. SpreeeN awaiting in the wings, maybe to jump on squishy member of the backline. Layerssss is hanging further back, but remember he has the gap closed with his ultimate to fully engage on a fight if need be. Very passive from the Houdinis here. They had the waves just for a moment, maybe waiting for just somebody to slightly overextend.
You call it passive, I call it disciplined.
Maybe patient is the right
patient.
word. There we go.
Some sort of positive connotation to whatever they're doing right now, which is waiting for the minions to stack up so they can move in.
Cracking their knuckles. Right.
Yeah, just flexing a little bit, just looking and standing menacingly. Right. They're doing a lot of stuff, but eventually they're going to walk in towards that Titan, and Hype Unit needs to prevent it.
And that time is now. Titan started. Fight is started as well. Visions has to just go back to the fountain to keep himself up. They don't even need to win the fight. They're going to take down this Titan. Houdinis dismantle Hype Unit in game 3, and this one comes to a close. That was some great smite, and the Houdinis end up on top.
Oh, they caught my 6 God hand. I'm going to put that away. Houdinis, they pulled ahead, and in terms of pure star power, again, we said it the first game, you wouldn't have expected that, but they looked so much better. Even when they won, it looked better. They were quick, clean games, huge leads, no drops, no real seesawing of the leads in the game. Whereas the one game Hype Unit took 46 minutes, and it was back and forth the entire time.
Talk about the seesawing, though, of this group. We have seen teams that lost earlier in the day now winning these sets, and they won the first set, and then Boogie and the Woogies drops in the second set. This final set is going to be very important as to who is able to make it through in Group B here. Quick look at the post-game stats for the Houdinis. I mean, low damage numbers, I hesitate to say that, but this is a 26-minute game. My boy Kukulkan, Heeed, playing that one, is on top of the damage charts.
Nearly 1,000 for every minute, too.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, Heeed doing a great job. SpreeeN, although he's not near even second highest damage on the team, all the damage he did was kills. They instantly killed somebody. Here's the first blood, or second blood, I should say, as oBoronic gets soloed.
There's a reason we missed that, right?
It was too
there
quick.
was just enough poke, and then he dashes forward and gets the kill. and that was just about it. SpreeeN started his onslaught. That's really it right there. The double kill 5.5 minutes into this game, and he didn't slow down at all.
Not even a little bit. The other one really hype play I hope we get to see here is when he gets Naja ulted around the Fire Giant and just uses his ultimate to avoid the follow-up damage. It was nuts. This is a nice snipe as well.
Oh, I loved this play. It locks down. I think this is the one that, yeah, locks down 2 members. Leon gets dropped down, and the cascade of ultimates that come down from this is absolutely beautiful. Beast solo. He's going to get bonus damage for hitting multiple gods with his ultimate. Heeed drops his ult as well. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, you think you get rewarded for it. You land all the damage off of the Naja ult onto SpreeeN, but just in case you didn't know, he removes himself from the playfield, chat, and continues to damage you. He's so good. Stop not banning him in my ranked games.
Well, that's massive from the Houdinis. I mean, there's a reason we hadn't seen Hype Unit over the last few weeks, and it's because they qualified to the group stage so early on. Houdinis, they're able to grab themselves a win here in our third set of the day. We'll see Hype Unit a second time right after this.